Hi, everybody. This is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, Stories of the Supernatural. And here we are once again with a person who has been working with Bigfoot since 1971. His foundation, which is Alabama Bigfoot Society, has been documenting different Bigfoot sightings, stories, you name it, since 1971. His name is Mr. Jim Smith. I'm very lucky to have him on my show because, as you can imagine, this gentleman has a wealth of information, not only his own personal experiences, but things that have been told to him, any type of evidence that people have captured, whether it's prints or, just stories in and of themselves. So I'm going to bring Jim on, and I know you guys are just going to love this interview because, believe me, what this man has to share is incredible. Hey, Jim, how are you doing?
Hey now, it's pretty good today.
Great. I am, like I was explaining to my audience, I'm so glad to have you on my show because...
Well, I appreciate it.
Of course. And, we spoke briefly before a couple of other times, and I know,
Yep.
that you have a lot of information. But what I always ask all my guests is, which is that story you told me, by the way, what was your first encounter? What was the first thing that happened to you that gave you that personal, I guess, encounter, that moment, that epiphany that people have when they say,
Okay.
"Oh, this is not a story. This is for real." Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. My first sighting happened when I was about 15 years old. I lived at home, of course. I was in about the 11th grade, and we had some people that had seen this creature around town. Several, not in town, but I mean in the area. They had seen this creature. It was a very tall, hair-covered creature, and it was, like I said, it was in 1971 when I was about 15. We didn't have any idea what a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch was back in those days. As a matter of fact, here in Alabama, we had pretty much never even heard of a Bigfoot.
Really?
But anyway, yeah. But anyway, this thing. Several people had seen it, and kind of the word, rumors over town, and people would talk about it kind of privately. You know how people are whenever they see something that is not supposed to be there. They get laughed at.
They only talk to it about to close people. They're not going to make too much fun of them, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's kind of the way that this was. But now, what I need to tell you is, like I said, I lived at home back then. And I was the type of person that if there was ever an animal that was injured or somebody didn't want it, I brought it home. And at this particular time in my life, I probably had about 20 or 25 dogs in the yard. And these dogs got to barking at something. Seemed like almost every night. And of course, one of my parents would go to the door and we'd holler at the dogs to quieten them down. And it had finally got to where. Sometimes whenever you went to the door, especially whenever these dogs were, just really barking hard, like they were after something or something was after them, some of them would actually try to come in the house, actually. I mean, they were frightened of something. But anyway, we kept getting these, I kept hearing the talk of this giant hair-covered creature, whatever it was. But anyway, one night we were there, and my father had been to the door several times. The dogs were just raising Cain that night. And he'd been to the door several times and hollered at him. And he had finally actually gone on to bed. And I was like watching TV. Of course, my mother was there. And we were watching TV, getting ready to go to bed and everything. But anyway, the dogs just went to raising Cain like something was eating them up. And some of them were just hollering and yelling.
So you knew that this was something unusual for them.
Something was wrong the way that they were acting this particular night.
Okay.
So anyway, this was like in the front yard, and they began to come around the side of the house. So I just went to my bedroom where I could look out the bedroom window to see if I could see. I didn't have any idea of what they were after, and we didn't know what it might be, a prowler or something, around the house. So I just looked out my bedroom window. Of course, we had some lights in the backyard and that type of stuff. And I guess about 5 or 6 feet from my window, this this big, tall, hairy creature walked by, and I was just, what is this? You know, I mean, it was my eyes were wide open, my mouth came open, and the dogs were really after it. I mean, they were like jumping up on its side and this type of stuff. But this creature didn't pay any attention to the dogs. He didn't ever hit a dog or make any effort to run them off. He just walked by the window, and he got down pretty close to the end of where the house was.
Okay.
And he made a turn, and he walked across the yard. And that was the last time that I saw him. But after that, I sort of went to doing a little investigation on what this thing might be. And come to find out, I had run across the Patterson film, you know, and I said that's what I saw, you know. So that's what kind of got me going with Bigfoot. Then after that, I began telling people what I had seen that night. Of course, I got laughed at, and made a lot of fun of.
Yes.
Yeah. You only 15. What was you on? That night and everything, and but there was a lot of people that understood that that's what this thing was some kind of a creature. We didn't know what it was, but I did run across the Patterson film, and then I began doing some research over at a local college, like in some other newspapers around, and that's when I began to find out that this was a Bigfoot was what I had seen. Then, after I got to talking about it, then it seemed like everybody began coming to me. Well, I saw this same thing.
You know what? And I was going to ask you about that. Did you ever? I know you said you asked, and people would laugh. But did you ever have somebody go ahead and take you off to the side, not in front of everybody, because of course they don't want to be, and kind of fess up that they had seen something?
Yeah, yes, several times. Even the police here one time came to my house. And said that they had seen this thing late one morning. And anyway, after I began to sort of talk around, it seemed like everybody then began to either call me or catch me in town or something and say, I saw something that I'm going to tell you about, but I don't want my name in this and whatever. And of course, I have always kept everybody's identity completely secret. That's been one thing that I have tried to do with my website. Whenever I decided to get the website going, to tell me what you saw, and we would talk about it. I would try to help you, if I could. Sometimes when people see something like it, it's a real frightening experience, and they actually need somebody to talk to about it. So that's kind of what I did with the website. And whenever I decided that I would when I was thinking about doing a Bigfoot website, I said, well, I'd better check this out and see if there's any more on the website. And gosh, there were hundreds of paranormal sites all over the website then, and it has been a lot of fun. I have met a lot of people, from just that first encounter. Really, that's kind of how I got interested in Bigfoot and all type of paranormal after that, because a lot of people.
I was going to tell you, all of a sudden, when people know that somebody's going to actually listen to them, I bet you hear a lot of stories that start with Bigfoot and end with something else.
Yeah, right there, that's what happened. People said, well, now, I hadn't seen this creature everybody's seeing. A Bigfoot was what it was. I hadn't seen that, but now let me tell you what I have seen. And it would be like a ghost, lights in the sky, UFOs, just all type of stuff like over after I begin. So at some point I decided I kind of need to write some of this stuff down.
Yeah.
I done forgot, who told me. I don't ever use people's real name or anything like that. But I began to write this down, and I remember going down to a local store and buying one of those little wire-bound notebooks years and years ago.
Right.
And that's what I began recording stuff in. But now, over the years, that little book has gotten lost. I sure would like to have it back. But you know
what? You did more than what a lot of people do. You started documenting,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really did, because I knew years later that I would be forgotten certain details, because I had got to hear this from this person and that from another person, and some of the sightings were, almost the same thing. Like like I saw this thing walking across the road on highway so and so,
Right.
and it just walked into the woods, and then somebody else would tell you almost the same thing. So
And I
I
imagine
wanted to
these
keep,
for you were people that you know that know each other. So you're thinking, okay, these people have no
yeah,
connection. Somehow or other
yeah,
are telling me the exact same thing or very similar. So there's got to be
right,
something
yeah.
to it.
So it just it just came from there. I mean, that's how I got interested in the paranormal.
And now let me ask you, because I know that the one with Patterson, what was it, 1974, that that they got that they released that film, the one where everybody kind of sees him
Yeah,
walking off. And
yeah,
did you see
yeah.
your thing before or after the Patterson? Before, right?
Yeah, yeah. I saw it before. It was around 1971.
Okay.
Whenever I saw this thing, yeah.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Patterson film, I believe, was shot in like 1967. I believe, but now I had never seen that film. Now, people now they won't believe what you say, but in 1971 here in Alabama, we only had three TV stations that you could get. Now
Yes.
it's hundreds, and you can find anything. But hey, back then, and the paranormal was very seldom talked about on TV.
Oh,
Back then,
of course,
and
absolutely.
it was just a year. Well, it was later that I saw the Patterson film on some TV show.
And I'm going to
Some
ask
little
you. I'm going to ask you
special.
because you've been around. What do
Yeah.
you think of the Patterson film? Do you think that's what they captured a real Bigfoot, or do you think what is it?
I believe that Bigfoot was it real. I have looked at it and I have watched other people's thoughts on it, on YouTube and that type of stuff. And I can't find anything from what I've watched. It looks like it was a real Bigfoot to me. Sure does.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I know some people were saying no, but and then lately, as a matter of fact, lately that's what they were. There were other people saying, well, now that we've looked up, that they basically were saying this cannot be somebody inside of a suit pretending
I don't think it was.
to be, I
Yeah,
guess as they've gotten
a
more
Bigfoot.
applications to look at it better, like the muscles and
Yeah.
the way couldn't be faking that.
Oh no, and something that it really makes me think that it was real. I had watched this thing I don't know how many times, and I had never noticed that this Bigfoot was a female, that it actually had a breast, and
Really?
somewhere or another, and then somewhere or another I had ran across that said the Patterson film Bigfoot actually is a female because you can see her breast. So I go back and I look at this video, and sure enough, it has got breast, and at one place or two. You know how sometimes women, I don't mean to say anything out of the way,
No,
you know how
no, go
sometimes
right ahead,
women
go right
that are like a little larger than others, whenever they walk, they kind of bounce,
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the way that this thing does. And I just don't think back in 1967, if anybody made a costume, who would have ever
Yes.
thought to put breast on this thing?
Right.
I mean,
No,
I certainly never
absolutely,
would.
absolutely. And especially if it was going to be men, they were going to dress
Yeah.
up as a male, whatever.
Yeah,
There's no way
yeah,
they're going to
yeah.
fake it as a
So,
woman. No, I
Oh
absolutely.
yeah. So I just believe that Roger Patterson was out looking for Bigfoot, and he kind of knew where to look, and he was just in the right place at the right time,
Yes.
and he managed to catch one on video.
And you know what? I know that. I mean, I know that there's a big, the Pacific Northwest. They've got a lot of sightings up there.
Yeah.
And, as a matter of fact, I had a husband of a good friend of mine who told me this story, and he had no reason to lie to me. It was like,
Okay.
this was a few years ago, as a matter of fact. And he told me, because he grew up in Northern California. And
Oh, okay.
he said one time he had gone out camping with his dad and his uncle, and I think they had sent him like by a lake or something. I don't know, you get water or something like that. But he said he was just hanging out there by the side of the lake, but he wasn't like really next to it. I guess he just was by the tree line. And he says he was like 9 or 10 years old, 11, and he
Yeah.
saw one of these things step out from the woods over into the lake, like to drink water, because they thought it didn't see him, I guess. And
Yeah,
he said this
probably,
was
yeah.
this made a believer out of him, and he said that he was so scared that he didn't move because he was just so scared,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it kind
I
of
can
drank a little
understand
bit
that.
and it walked back into the woods. And he says that when he came back to the campsite, he just like he couldn't even get the words out to tell his family what had happened. But he says he,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he,
Yeah.
and that's I think a lot of people have those encounters exactly when, like you said, when they least expect it.
You do. You certainly do. That has been the way that all the Bigfoot that I've seen has just been. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and it just happened, and then heck, it was over with. I mean, it didn't linger on. It just a very quick glimpse of them sometimes.
Let me ask you because I know that some people, for example, you'll get different. Like I said, the Pacific Northwest has got their
Yeah.
versions, and I mean down here, I mean there's like different parts of the country get different versions
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot or
Yeah.
Sasquatch or whatever you call. Do you think we're
Yeah.
looking at the same creature or what was originally the same creature but that have adapted somehow to the environment that they live in and
I
they kind of change a little
believe
bit?
that they do. Yeah, they kind of have to. They have to kind of adapt to wherever they're living. Like hair color down here. If well, as a matter of fact, that's what I've been doing this morning is looking at some pictures that
Okay.
was sent to me. And here they are going to blend into these woods. They're going to camouflage into them. But now out in other places, they may be a slightly different color, like depending on what the woods and stuff like that. That's kind of what I've noticed in different places. You have like the darker colors or lighter colors, depending on the brush and woods and that type of stuff where they live. But
Right. Like they kind
I
of
do
change their
believe that they
coloring and everything as far as.
probably over a period of time. They kind of blend in better or camouflage in better to the woods.
And let me ask you,
But
the one in your area. Let me ask you, when you lived out in that, when you first saw it, did you guys live like in an area that was like close to woodlands, or where you lived
yeah,
at?
oh yeah, right across the road from our house was miles and miles of nothing but woods, and I
Okay.
used to deer hunt. I hunt all kind of back whenever I did hunt and stuff, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the hunting. I don't mean to say that I have just got older and
Mm-hmm.
not as able to get in the woods as I used to be
Right.
to
No, no,
hunt, that
understandably.
type of stuff. And but I used to hunt those woods, and I mean they just went on for miles and miles. And there was little creeks and rivers and that type of stuff in those woods. And there was like a good food supply, water supply, fish supply, deer and other game in there for Bigfoot. Plus all the berries and nuts, that grow on
Right.
trees and bushes,
Now,
that type
and
of stuff. So
I'm glad
he
you
had a
bring
good
that
place.
up because a lot of people, they, what, as far as you know, or you've been told, what do Bigfoots eat? Do they eat like, are they meat eaters, or what do they eat that you know of?
They well, what I know of is they kind of eat like us. They I have carried them like food whenever I was several years ago when I was trying to like lure them in to where maybe I could get a picture of one or whatever. But they eat pretty much what we eat. I never carried them anything cooked or a candy, anything like that,
Okay.
because I didn't want to get them like hooked on sugar or
Mm-hmm.
something. But I mean that could be bad for a wild animal, eating sugar
Sure.
or cooked. So I would carry like fruit, canned sardines. I really had good luck bringing them in close with sardines. I guess it was the odor,
That was
plus
what I'm
it
about to
was
say. The smell, huh?
fish.
Yes, the
But now,
smell.
yeah, oh yeah, that odor. Whenever you open up a can, everybody knows that you've opened up sardines.
Mm-hmm.
Sure do. But yeah, I did that for a while. I would like carry a can of sardines. I had a certain place that I left it, and I believe that they ate the sardines. Sometimes they'd leave the can. Sometimes they'd leave me like a rock or a feather or something like that. But that
Really?
went on for that went on for several years.
Oh, you need to
And
wait. Tell me about that. So you were leaving out something to eat,
yeah,
like, and
yeah.
they would leave you
I,
like a thank you gift kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 sure would. back in about 2005 or six, somewhere along there, Alabama had a drought.
Okay.
I mean, it was a real bad drought. All the little creeks around, all of the little creeks just dried up.
Okay.
And of course, we were doing some Bigfoot research back in those days. You know, trying to get out in the woods and see if we could find tracks or hair samples, like on the barbed wire fence where they crossed or something.
Right.
But anyway, it had dawned on me over there one day. You know, the water supply is kind of getting low out here. I wonder if we brought them water, if they would come in closer to us whenever we're out here. So that's what we got to do. And I got to carrying like a gallon plastic jug,
okay.
like a milk or a juice, something like that comes in. And I had a bunch of those jugs at one time, and I would carry a jug of water over there. And I decided one day, well, whenever we started this, I didn't know how to communicate with them or anything like that. So I just walked to the edge of the woods and told them. I said, no, that you hadn't got much water out here. And I said, I'm bringing you a gallon of water. And I said, I'm going to leave it right here. And, after that, we went back the next day, and the water jug was gone.
Wow.
And this had went on for like weeks and weeks. And I had in the meantime, I went to, like I said, carrying sardines, maybe sometimes an apple or orange. Well, heck, more than one usually. But I had a little place where I always left stuff. And I have had people that ask me, well, how would a Bigfoot open a can of sardines? I always open the can for him and left it sitting there,
Okay.
And but anyway, I went over there one day, and we carried water, and we carried sardines, some other stuff. And I just told them over there one day, just like I would be talking to you on the phone tonight, and everything. I said, now, I've been bringing you water, I've been bringing you stuff to eat, and I want you to leave me something. Well, we go back about 2 or 3 days later. For some reason, we didn't get to go back the next day, but we went back about 2 or 3 days later, and a sardine can was sitting right where I left it. And whenever I got out of the Jeep, I looked at this lady that had gone with me, or that had helped me a lot back then. And I said, it doesn't look like anything messed with the sardines this time. I said, they may have moved on or something. But I walked down, I had another can, and I carried it down there, and whenever I got to it, I could tell that the can was empty, and there was this big rock. I say a big rock. I guess it was almost the size of a baseball, and it was in the can. And
it's like, how's that going to happen?
Yeah, I looked at it, and the first thing that went through my mind, how did this rock get in this can? So I just picked the rock up, and I just tossed it down in the woods, and I put another can of sardines there. And we came back about 2 or 3 days later. Well, I had left them some water and everything that day, too. But anyway, we came back about 2 or 3 days later, and I believe it was that same rock was back in the can again. So then it had dawned on me, how you've seen on cartoons, the little light bulb goes off.
Yes.
It had dawned on me. That's what Bigfoot put in this can when I told him when I asked him to leave me something.
Uh-huh.
And I had people say, well, why do you think that he had left a rock? For some reason, that I feel like that rock was like important to him. It could be a rock that he used, like to hunt rabbit or something like that. I mean, it could be something that he used like that. But then after that, they began leaving other little rocks. They sometimes would leave feathers. I guess it was birds that they had caught and ate or whatever. But not this now. This all didn't happen within like a week or two. I mean, this was over like about a 10-year period that I got some rocks and some feathers.
Okay.
And I believe that Bigfoot was leaving them there because where we were going, nobody else knew where we were, and we were way deep in the woods. And I don't think that any and heck, I never mentioned it to anybody that I was.
You know
feeding
what?
them.
I'm glad you said that, Jim, because you know what? I know that there was going to be somebody out there thinking, oh, somebody found out and they were pulling his foot.
Somebody was watching you. Yeah, yeah.
So you kind of were ahead of that. You were like, I'm not telling anybody what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I really didn't know where to tell anybody, and I think a lot of people around. I already thought I was kind of off the wall for the paranormal stuff anyway, and well, I'm out here feeding Bigfoot, and
okay. I
You
have a good saying.
know,
Why be
we're going.
normal? That's boring. Of
Yeah, oh yeah, I always try a little something different.
course.
That's what keeps life interesting, and that's one thing that I can look back on now. I'm 60 years old now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have lived a great life with this paranormal stuff. It has really paid off from all the ridicule and that type of stuff that I had to put up with. But now I have met some wonderful people. Just like you. I mean, I'd have never met you
Well, yeah,
if
of
it hadn't
course.
been
I
for
mean, and you know
Bigfoot.
what?
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
that also, I think part of it is thanks to the internet. I mean, I know that
Oh yeah,
they would have the Bigfoot
yeah.
stories, but as far as regular people being able to share their stories, the internet has helped tremendously.
Has really helped. It really has. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the internet, I really don't think we would be as progressed along in not only Bigfoot but paranormal investigation
Oh
and stuff.
no, no, no.
Because
And
you
you
have
know
got
what?
so many people.
And this is the thing, Jim. A lot of people, with whether it's the Bigfoot investigations or anything having to do with the paranormal, yeah, yeah, you're always going to have people that are making things up, whatever, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But
Mm.
everybody wants to. What's that saying? Throw out the baby with the bathwater. But there's
Yeah. Hmm.
a lot of people that their experiences or their investigations are very legitimate. Okay,
Oh yeah.
but
They,
everybody says, "Oh
they
well,
are. Yeah.
because did you hear about those people that it was all fake?" And I said, "Yeah, but not everybody fakes it, you
Not
know."
not everybody. Mm.
And let me and I know
I
I've
think
heard of
that.
some people saying that that Bigfoot eat deer. Do you think that's
Yeah.
accurate?
I believe they do. I had a man. It's been several years ago now. Said he was hunting one afternoon, and he carried me over to the place. It wasn't very far from where I live. He actually came by the house the next day after this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and he was hunting. He wasn't hunting. Here in Alabama, you can hunt deer with dogs. The dogs can run them out of the woods.
Okay.
Which makes it a whole lot easier and that type of stuff. But now, this man wasn't hunting with dogs. He was just walking in the woods. If he ran up on a deer, he was going to shoot it. And everything. Well, that's what he did. He walked up on this deer and it jumped up out of a bed and he shot it, but he didn't hit it well. The deer he kept running.
Okay.
So anyway, he decided he would go back home. He had a good dog that could trail deer, and that type
Okay.
of stuff. So he brought the dog back, and the dog, gets in the woods and goes to barking, after the deer and everything. And in a little bit, he hears the dog bay. And whenever a dog, does the baying, he has found whatever he's looking for.
Right.
So this guy goes on over the hill, and the dog is there with something, barking, kind of running around in circles like at something. But the guy, he doesn't see the deer. And he's like, well, what's wrong with this dog? This is the best dog I had as far as hunting deer and stuff.
Yes.
And there's a pile of pine straw, a big pile of pine straw.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the dog is barking at, this big pile of pine straw out there that really ought not to be in the woods piled up like it is, but what this guy said. But anyway, he gets looking around. Well, here's an antler sticking out of the top of this pile of pine straw. So he gets over there and begins pulling the pine straw off of this deer,
Okay.
and it's the deer that he shot. But now now there is also, he finds out that it's the deer that he shot because
Okay.
the bullet hole is right where he was aiming for. He aimed a little bit low, but anyway, he knew it was the deer that he had shot. But then whenever he found the deer, there was claw marks on its rib cage on both sides.
Whoa.
Deep claw marks that went down the side just a little ways, like something had caught this deer. And as the deer ran, its fingernails or claws, kind of cut the hide a little bit. And then on one of the hips was a big bite. Just the meat, hair, and all had been bitten out of this deer's hip.
Oh.
So that's so by it being covered up with this pine straw and stuff, and there had been Bigfoot sightings in this area. That's sort of what we believe may have happened. Now I can't prove it, but that's what we kind of
Right.
think happened. Was this whenever this deer went running along and this Bigfoot saw it was wounded, he went out there and caught it and finished killing it. And then probably whenever the dog went to barking, he may have covered that deer up, hoping that nobody would find it, that
Right.
he was
Like
going
I'll
to
come
use it
back
later.
for it.
Yeah, I mean, there was just no way that the deer could have naturally got under
Oh,
a
of course
pile
not,
of
especially if
pine straw.
it's been wounded. Now, I imagine you
Yeah,
get a lot of stories from hunters, don't you? I mean, those are the
we
ones that are
do. Yeah,
tramping out there.
yeah, yeah. Sure do. I have had one particular hunter. He owns a hunting club, and he had called me several times one year that he was hearing the wood knocks and that type of stuff. And I was telling him sort of what to listen for. You know, sometimes they tap rocks, sometimes they pick up a limb and they'll hit the side of a tree. You know, sort of. I believe that's signaling or talking to each other through those taps and everything. And he was telling me one day he was wanting to know what the wood knocks sounded like. And I said, well, you know, it's either one tap or maybe two or three. And then you maybe on the other side of the hill or the valley or wherever you're at, you'll hear something tap back. And he said, I was sitting in a tree stand a couple of days ago, and said it sounded like they were building a house.
Okay.
You know, down here they were tapping, you know, so much back and forth. It wasn't actually that it sounded that loud or anything, but that was what he sort of compared it with. There was a lot of tree knocks down there in those particular woods, and that was pretty close to where this guy shot this deer down, and then it got up and it ran away.
Let me ask you something. When you were describing that you were, especially that drought time, were you any place close to where you originally saw this thing when you were a teenager, or were you in a totally different area of the state?
I was in a totally different place. I saw it in one county, and where we did the water and the food trading was like maybe 30 miles away from where I saw the first one. You know, that when I was 15.
Okay.
So it was a long way off. Yeah.
So let me ask you: after you saw it that time when you were a teenager, did you ever see it or see something that you thought was a Bigfoot?
Yeah. After that, me and a friend of mine that I was talking with over the Christmas holidays, we were actually talking about it. He and I used to get out at night. I didn't even have my driver's license back then. He did. He was a little older than I was. And after I saw this thing and he told him about it, he would come by my house at night a lot of times, and I would ride with him. Me and him would ride dirt roads and pastures, shine the light out in pastures, hoping we would see a Bigfoot. And we actually did see what we think was this same creature or Bigfoot one other time that ran across the road in front of us one night.
Okay.
Way on in the night. I would say it was probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and we would just ride down the road, and we were actually looking for whatever this thing was. Okay. And it did run across the road in front of us. Sure did.
Now, do you think? I know some people think that that Bigfoots migrate. Do you think that's accurate? Do you think that they migrate depending on the weather and following food around?
I believe they do. Yeah, I believe that because I believe they come into this part of Alabama more in the winter time than what they do in the summer. Because the summertime here is just that wet, muggy, hot, and they're covered with hair anyway. But I think that they kind of go like up into the Appalachian Mountains more in the summer where it's a little cooler. Because it seems like in the summertime that I get more reports from North Alabama than I do from down south Alabama whenever the weather gets hot.
Okay, and have you ever heard of them attacking anyone?
No, I had never heard of that. I have heard people talk of it, in other places that Bigfoot seemed aggressive or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But as far as here in Alabama, I can only recall one, and it really wasn't an attack or anything. It was just somebody was walking out in the woods down a power line. You know how they cut power lines to keep them clean?
Yes.
And everything. This particular lady and her two brothers, whenever she was about 16, 17 years old, were going to a friend's house. So they just cut through the woods to keep from having to walk around this little road.
Okay.
And said as they walked across a power line, that something made this outrageous holler at them, and they frightened them. They took off running. But anyway, this girl told me that as she began to enter the woods on the other side of the power line, she looked back to see what this was, and she could see a Bigfoot, but it didn't attack them or chase them. And what I was wondering is if maybe they walked up on it and frightened the Bigfoot, or it could have been that Bigfoot had his family there, and he let out this yell to kind of frighten everybody else off, because he didn't want them. Maybe he had a baby, or maybe him and his mate or wife or whatever they have. Maybe they had a baby close by, and this was his way of chasing everything off to protect that a young Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's when a lot of animals that normally don't attack will attack, to defend their young. So
yeah, just do something like that. Yeah.
And so let me ask you, do you think
I really hadn't had?
I'm sorry, what?
No, I really hadn't had here in Alabama anybody saying that they had been attacked by one. Sure hadn't.
And I mean, there's always also, people saying, do you think that they avoid humans out of instinct or intelligence? And the reason why I'm asking is that some people say they're intelligent, very intelligent, and other people say, well, no, they're more animal-like, and they just react like an animal does based on instinct. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that they avoid humans because of their intelligence. I don't think that they want to come in contact with us. I think they just want to live their lives out in the woods like they have. And I personally believe that they're psychic, that they're very psychic. Of course, if you live in the woods, all of your hearing senses and your smell and your sight is going to have to be at top performance all the time to survive out in nature. Just like a deer or anything. Right. I mean, you have to be aware of what's going on around you. But I just believe that these things are kind of psychic, because after I would talk to them sometimes, and they would actually respond back to what I was saying. Like like I said, whenever I was trading, I'm leaving you this. I want you to leave me something. And they began leaving rocks or feathers or
that indicates some type of intelligence.
Like yeah, I actually believe that they are about 50% human. And you used to hear the missing link and that type of stuff. And it's very possible that Bigfoot could be that missing link, between animal and human.
Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you about another famous, and I'm sure you've heard of, this came back also out, I believe, in the 70s, the legend of Boggy Creek, or the Fook monster. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is another version of Bigfoot, what's out there?
I believe it is. Like Florida has their own version of Bigfoot, the skunk ape.
Right.
And Alabama has, we have some that are solid white now, which used to be very rare. We only got white reports from up in North Alabama. But here lately, I have been getting reports from all over the South of white Bigfoot, not just from Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia,
right?
All surrounding. A lot of people have contacted me now, since the website's going pretty good, and I've got first one thing, another on there. People contact me and say, well, I saw a white one here and everything. And I did a little video on a white one in Georgia a while back. And then after that video went on, I guess within a month, I got several other reports of a white Bigfoot in that area. And I don't believe it was all. Now there could be some hoax or whatever, but the details that I didn't tell on the video, a lot of people told the same identical details of what they saw.
Exactly.
So that makes me think that it's right. They gave you information
that unless they actually experienced it, they weren't picking it up from your video.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got a lot of reports from over there. So I don't know exactly why the white ones have become so I was going to say popular, but not popular. So many sighting reports of white ones, unlike let's say white gene or something that's got into the breeding population.
Right. Well, there's always an albino was a mutant, but that's rare, just like in
Yeah.
humans and other animals. And
Yeah. Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
what? This is me, Marlene, thinking of maybe they gray out just like humans do.
Well,
Like when they grow
I
older,
believe that. Yeah,
they
I
grow
believe that
gray
because I have.
hairs, and
Yeah. Hmm.
somebody that's used to seeing maybe an animal that's got dark hair or brown or whatever. I mean, it might not be completely white but it looks like a light colored thing
Yeah.
because it's
Mm,
just an older one that's got gray
older.
hair.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then they get gray.
I believe that. I have had reports of people saying that they had actually encountered a Bigfoot that had actually looked old. It looked like it wasn't
There
in
you go.
real good health, and that type of stuff.
So
And
yeah,
something else I got to wondering from that, I wonder if Bigfoot do like Indians whenever they get a certain age and in bad health, whatever, if they just go off and die
right.
somewhere. I have wondered about that because I have had I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 reports of people saying, "Well, I saw this Bigfoot, but it just didn't act like it was in good health. It just was all slumped over and it was partially white." I have had that several times that it's partially. So that's what makes me think that as they do get older, their hair does
Sure.
turn white, like ours, or like mine. It may come out. I hadn't seen a bald-headed Bigfoot yet, but you can't never tell.
Well,
Yeah,
and you know what? For all we know, because there's always the ones in the crowd. Well, we've never found skeletal remains and blah blah. But
yeah,
for all we know, whether it's out of instinct, how sometimes animals when they're dying they'll go into caves or really
yeah.
hidden spots to like
Hmm.
die. They could do
Oh
that,
yeah.
or they could be intelligent enough where they actually do like some type of burial or.
That's what I believe that they bury. They're dead, and the thing also that I the one reason that I don't think a body or bones or stuff have been found. Once something's out in the woods, I mean, it doesn't last long now,
Yes.
especially with all the coyotes and other animals, that would eat them. And
Yeah.
coyotes pretty much would eat bones and all. I mean, there just wouldn't be much found. But
Let
I
me
actually
ask you
believe
something,
that they
Jim.
that they
Now
do
that you
bury the
said
dead.
coyotes, have you or any of the hunters in your area or that you've heard of ever come to you and said that they found a top predator either dead or hurt or that might have had an encounter with a Bigfoot?
No, very very seldom do you hear of anybody finding like a deer in the woods dead, and as many deer is out there. Some of them have to die or get hit by a car and hobble off in the woods and die. But I right off the top of my head, I don't ever remember anybody saying that they found a dead deer or a bear or
Right.
anything
Well,
like that in the woods.
I'm looking at it from the angle of, if, where you got a predator, whether it's a, coyote or a bear or a
Mm,
puma, whatever, or a cougar, that
yeah,
maybe they're competing for that same deer or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
oh yeah,
it makes you
and
wonder if he's ever gone up against any of these other predators, especially if maybe food is thinned out. Like when you were talking about that drought, where
yeah,
maybe your normal food sources are not the same, and all of a sudden they have to compete for food.
yeah.
And it makes you wonder who would be the winner on that.
It would with like a cougar or a black panther. We have a lot of black panthers up here now, and
You
I have
do?
often wondered about. Oh yeah, gosh, yeah, we
You
have
know,
plenty of those now. Yeah,
now,
sure.
again, because you know that I had heard before that there would be a lot of people saying, "Oh, I saw the Black Panther," and people were like,
Hmm.
"No, you can't. That doesn't exist here anymore." Or in the
Yeah,
areas that they were reporting it, they were saying no, and there were
yeah.
people getting videos of this thing. And you're telling me that now people in Alabama are finding them?
Oh yeah, gosh, yeah. We
Oh,
we we have. I also take like I said, all type of paranormal reports and stuff.
Okay.
And people have sent me pictures from game cams and all that type of stuff of
Yeah.
black panthers. Sure have. Matter of fact, there was a lady here a few weeks ago called me, and a lot of people have my number, and I try not to give my phone number out very much, but because people will call you all hours of the night
Oh,
sometimes.
sure.
But I did have a lady that she contacted me first through the website, and I did send her my phone number because she seemed like she was real upset. But whenever I talked to her, she said it's probably been about a month or so ago now. She said she walked out of her grandfather's house. He's older now, and her and her husband had been up there to visit him for something. But anyway, she walked out of the house going out to the barn for something to check on something out there for her. And she said as she walked toward the barn that a black panther that she thought was a big dog, that it just walked out of the woods. Yeah, and said this thing just walked up to the barn and it just sat down on its butt like a dog would. And so that's what she thought it was. It said it was dark. Said there was a few little lights like in the barn and in the backyard. But said that's what she actually thought this thing was a dog. And said she went to talking to it, because whenever somebody a dog that you don't know comes up to you, you kind of talk to it to hopefully calm it down so it won't bite you or something.
Yeah.
And she said she went to talking to this thing and said it just sat there and looked at her and said then when it wagged its tail, said its tail came from one side of the body all the way around, and said she just froze. She said this ain't no dog. This is a cat's tail. And she got to. She said she got to
go back in the house.
Yeah, she said she got to looking at this thing, and it was a black panther. She could tell it had a cat's head, and she said she just froze right there and it didn't move, and said this thing just sat there for a little bit, and then it just walked off into the woods. So it makes you wonder, was this thing a pet or what it was, and it just gotten away from somebody. But I did have a report a while back that somebody was actually raising black panthers here in Alabama, and that's where some of them came from. But you
but
can't
there's
ever
been a lot
tell.
of sightings in other states.
Yep.
And even in the areas where the cougar population is not that high anyway, just so that people couldn't say, well, you thought it was that, but it's not. And it's like, okay, when so many people in different states or in different areas are catching sight of something, and a lot of people do exactly what you said that lady did. When they're not looking for it, they kind of look at this, and it takes them a while to realize what they're looking at because that's not what they're expecting to see.
Oh no, that was the last thing that was on her mind probably that night was seeing a black panther. But she said she almost walked up to it and was going try to pet it on the head because she actually thought it was a big black dog. And I thought, well, you might have pulled back part of my arm, but if it was that tame, it might not have hurt her. But now don't anybody go petting black panthers because that would be very dangerous out there. But whenever you walk up on something like that and you're just not expecting it, you really don't know how you'll react sometimes.
Exactly. You kind of like I said, you have this moment where all of a sudden your mind starts telling you, what you're looking at is not what you think you're looking at. It's something else.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you. There's another animal. It's kind of Bigfoot. It's called the Sabine thing, or I think they used to call it the cattle critter out of like the Texas, Arkansas area.
I have heard of that. Yeah, I have heard of that. I don't know too much about it, but now that you say that word, I have heard that.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like I said, you've got the sightings up in like the Pacific Northwest, and then you've got these like the Honey Island, the swamp monster, and this other one, and of course the one from Boggy Creek. And these more look like they dwell more like in like the swamp areas, like the different
Yeah, and seems like some of those in the swampy places like that in Louisiana, seem like they sometimes have like 3 toes, or 4 toes. And I actually had somebody just a few days ago bring by a plaster cast that they had made, and they claimed that it was here in the county that I live in. and it was a four-toed footprint. But
Wow.
that's the only one that I have had reported four toes, and that's one that you kind of take with a grain of salt. I mean, it's possible that it was a four-toed print, but it looked like as deep as this print was, like in the mud, because he had a good cast made out of it. It looked like it looked like it was like the left foot. It looked like if he'd looked around, surely he would
Wow.
have found the right foot, but he just had this one print. So it sort of makes you wonder something. I mean, it kind of keeps you on your toes. Is somebody hoaxing it, or
Well,
that kind of stuff?
let's go down what they say that bunny trail.
Yeah,
Now since we're down there, you know that in Louisiana in those swamps they've got the loop garou, the rougarou, and
yeah,
they've got the lizard man, and they're
yeah,
not. I mean, the way they describe them, these are not Bigfoot, but again, they're like stuff or things that exist in the swamp. Have you had
yeah.
reports about any of these cryptids?
Well, I did get a report a while back from what somebody thought they saw a dog man.
Okay.
They said that this thing was down on all fours, and said it just looked like it was part wolf, part dog. It was had long hair, very vicious looking head on it, and everything. And they said that it actually ran a little ways, and then it raised up on its hind legs, and it ran on its hind legs for a long ways. And they were hunting at the time, and that's what this guy said. He said when he saw this thing that he decided it was time to get out of the woods.
I was about to,
And
thank God, because it's to me, it's like this is the moment you say, you know what, I would really like to know what it is, but I think I'm just gonna leave because
yeah,
it's, do you
I
really
know
want
what
to
you mean.
find it?
I'd be the same way. Yeah, I'd be the same way. What if it is some kind of creature that heck, a bullet wouldn't do any good? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't know sometimes. I know sometimes I kind of get off the path, I guess, thinking about, well, could this be something from another planet or something that has been a hybrid that has been
Yes.
developed over the years. I know that doesn't exactly go along with Bigfoot, but I wonder about things like that. I mean, because we do have a lot of UFO sightings. Well, I hadn't had that many reported lately, but in
Okay.
the past we have had a lot of UFO sightings in this area, and
Well,
you
and you
wonder,
know
well,
what?
maybe they have
I'm glad you
dropped something
brought that
out.
up, Jim, because a lot of people have told me, and I've heard it also, that
Yeah.
sometimes there's a correlation between Bigfoot or cryptid sightings and sightings of UFOs.
Yeah. I have noticed that over the years. Now, a lot of times, if I get a UFO sighting, then I'll probably get some Bigfoot sightings out of that area. Or if I get a Bigfoot sighting, then more than likely I'm gonna get some UFO, some lights that can't be explained. Or somebody say, well, I was sitting in my backyard, maybe just watching the sky or whatever. But like a meteor shower or something, be standing out there for something
Right.
like that, and say, I saw these lights come over and they just didn't make any sound in areas where I have had Bigfoot sight. Usually where you have one within a few days or maybe a week or so, then you get the other, Bigfoot or UFO one way or the other. So I do believe that there's some type of connection there with UFOs and Bigfoot. Sure do.
Well, you know what? Last week, I was interviewing another gentleman. His name is Rocky Elmore, and he
Hmm.
was a border patrol agent. He's retired now. He was out of the Otay Mountains, like in Southern California, east of San Diego.
Oh, okay.
And he experienced stuff when he was working where they were even sensing stuff with heat signature, what looked, or some of them thought was some type of Bigfoot creature. And then I did a little bit
Hmm.
of looking into that area, and there's something called out there called the Proctor Valley
Hmm.
Monster. Okay,
Hmm.
which sounds again like another version of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
the only thing is, like he says, they would hear it. And one time they picked it up on scope with the heat for the body heat,
Yeah.
but they were
Hmm.
never able to act. And they did have, because they were out there patrolling for illegal immigrants coming over the border. And he said
Yeah.
sometimes they would have these groups of people screaming, like turn themselves into them, saying that a
Hmm.
monster was chasing them. Okay,
Hmm.
and he said out there this was no man's land.
Oh
There
yeah.
was no settlements, there was nobody living there.
Right.
Okay,
Miles. Miles. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
to me, as we were discussing, and the same thing where we even thought, well, interdimensional rips, like sometimes where you
Yeah.
see cryptids or things that people go, what is that? And then nobody can
Hmm.
really find them again, or they just don't find any type of evidence for them.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, there. It's been several years ago. There was thought it was a Bigfoot. I mean, because they did find tracks and some hogs around here. Several of them. I like maybe 10 or 12. I have got it down in my file exactly how many, but it was like 10 or 12 hogs got killed, and they were just torn apart.
Oh,
And then they wasn't just left laying on the ground. They were piled up on top of each other, and these were like 200 and 300 pound hogs. You know, that that it would take like 2 or 3 people to
right.
pick up a hog that big, especially dead weight. But they were just piled up on top of each other. So the man that owned the farm where the hogs were killed, he actually hired a guy from Colorado or Wyoming to come in here. He was a professional tracker. And he
Okay.
came in, going to see if he could find what this thing was, because they did find the Bigfoot prints down there and everything, and that's what
Oh,
we knew what Bigfoot was now, and that's what he thought it was, and that's what he wanted this tracker to come in to see if he could find this Bigfoot, because there was footprints all out in the hog pen where these hogs got killed, and I guess that he would killed it. And let me add there that Alabama Bigfoot site is not far killing one. We don't believe in killing one, but
uh-huh.
if it attacks you, or if it attacks your livestock, now that would be altogether a different
Oh, sure.
story. I mean, you'd have to do what you had to do. But anyway, this what I was going to tell you about this guy from Wyoming or Colorado, where I can't remember exactly right off the top of my head where he was
Okay.
from, but he told me several times that he would be tracking this thing, and that the footprints would just had quit. It was like it just flew away, or
Yeah.
something lifted it up in the air, or he even mentioned, and that sort of got me thinking about it. He said, I guess it's just like it just walked off the face of the earth. I could be tracking it, and they would just quit. So that made me think, well, maybe it is a dimensional creature that can go from one dimension to another. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all just speculation. But
Sure.
you know, somebody that actually knows what they're doing a whole lot more than I do out there tracking. I used to be pretty good at tracking like game and that type of stuff back whenever I was younger. But I mean, somebody that does it, all the time,
Right.
professionally knows a whole lot more about what to look for and what should be there and shouldn't be there than what I do. But that's what he told me. And then when you said that, it just it dawned on me what that guy told me one time. Sure did.
And you know what? I know that there's some people out there that that and I think that they say that they have had psychic communications with
Hmm.
Bigfoot or
Yeah.
Sasquatch. Okay,
Yeah.
that in
Hmm.
other words, they don't communicate verbally, like in the sense of language or noises, but psychically, which leads you
Psychically.
to
Yeah.
believe if
Hmm.
that's a possibility, then why they might be able to, I'm going to use a Star Trek word, teleport, or or do
Well,
that where
yeah.
they can
Hmm.
step in and out of one area into
From
another.
yeah. I have even wondered that about the white Bigfoot, because we're having so many white Bigfoot sightings, just like I said, all over everywhere right now. And I even mentioned that a while back in one of the videos. Have they learned how to go through portals to where they can go from one dimension to another, or
Right.
are they coming through portals from one part of the world to here in
Yes.
Alabama and then to here back, or is it possible they're coming from another place in the universe.
Yeah, well,
Have they
because traditionally before the Yetis were the ones that were always described as being
white?
all
Yeah,
white,
yeah.
and you're thinking, okay, because they come from an area that's always snowy,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's was traditionally where you always had those reports of the white
You always had
ones.
the white ones. Yeah.
And
Sure
now,
was.
yeah, I don't see why
Yeah.
not. I mean, it's when he was describing, and the thing was, this gentleman, he told me, I asked him, I go, did it ever catch anybody? I mean, what happened?
Yeah.
And he goes, no.
Yeah.
He says they were never, nobody was ever hurt. I mean, it's very scared, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And he says you got a very weird feeling, a very weird sensation, almost like a bad sensation.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it is our instincts that when you have a predator out there, that if they wanted to, they could like eat you if they wanted to. That I think that
If
that's
they
part of
wanted
us
to.
that kicks in and gives
Yeah.
you that awful
It
feeling.
actually does. That hate fear. You don't know what it is, and you don't know what it's capable of, or what it's got in mind. So yeah, that hate fear
No, I think
kicks in
that's
pretty
our
hard.
instinct. Like you need to get out of here now. Like
Oh yeah.
run. You
Yeah,
know?
well, there have been, and that's what I tell other people that go out looking for Bigfoot. I said if I tell them, and which I have done the same thing. If you're ever in a place and you're out there listening or whatever you're going to do, to try to come in contact with Bigfoot, if you ever get that feeling that you need to leave, then you need to pack up and leave right then. Something is telling you that you're in the wrong place, that you need to move on. Whether it's your sixth sense or whether it's this thing communicating with you. I mean, he may be having a big hunt or something where he's fixing to feed his family, and
Yeah.
he doesn't want you in that particular place
You're in the
whenever
way.
he's hunting. Yeah, you're causing him some problem out there. So that's what I tell people. If you're ever out there and you do get that feeling that you need to leave as quick as you can, because you just don't want to take a chance on what might happen.
Well, I know you mentioned that there was a lady, because of that conversation we had before, that was doing those Bigfoot calls, and you kind
Yeah.
of told her
Oh
you need to
yeah.
be careful because you really don't know exactly what you're or what
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 you
you're doing with that call. In other words,
that is what I have tried to get across to this lady. I personally, I don't do the howls or the wood knocks and that type of stuff. And I do know that a lot of investigators do.
right?
Matter of fact, me and a guy over the weekend talked about it, and I asked him. I said, "How many times have you done the howl or the hoops that they do?" And like 25 or 30 have run out of the woods to ask you, "What did you want?" And he said, "Well, whenever I do this, they yell back." And that's what I try to tell other people. You don't know what these things are saying. Whatever they're saying in that howl has some type of a meaning to Bigfoot, and whether you that's what that like I said that's what I tell people. Be careful of what you say to Bigfoot, because you have to be careful of what you say to anybody. I mean, if you walked up to say you were walking down a street of Miami, and the biggest guy that you'd ever seen, say he was 7 feet tall, weighed 300 pounds, he come walking up, and you said something in another language, maybe from a country he was from, and you thought you were saying, "Hey, how you doing? It's good to have you here." And the whole time you were insulting his mother and his sister,
Yeah.
and what you were thinking about doing to him. What would that guy do? I mean, that's why that I think of it with Bigfoot. Whenever he makes that howl out there in the wood, it has some type of meaning, whether he's hunting or whether he's just communicating with the other one to let him know he's here. Or like I've told this lady, if you're doing a mating call?
Yes.
Well, what if you're inviting him over?
That's exactly what I'm
more
thinking.
than just a couple of drinks,
What if you're thinking, "Hey, let's go have a date"? I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
If they're in mating season, you
You
don't
don't know.
If males are competing for females or territory,
Right.
like most, some animals do that, and basically
Yeah.
you're putting out a challenge cry.
Yeah. Or what I compare it to too is whenever people hunt a turkey, you have that little call that sounds like the hen. That's why whenever you do the little hen call, the gobbler, the male turkey, answers back.
Yes.
So you keep calling him up because he thinks he's fixing to breed with this female turkey. So what if that's what you're doing with Bigfoot? Whenever he does this howl, he's saying, all right, heck, it's that time that I can breed. This is our mating season that I'm ready to breed. And then this lady hollers back, come on over here, heck, I'm ready too. So,
well, no, because if you think about a lot of animals, that's exactly when they, not all the time, but when they put out those calls, they're declaring territory.
Like mating season.
They're asking, they're looking for a mate,
Mm-hmm.
Or usually it's like, and it's like, do you really know what this animal's not going to, I don't want to say an animal, even though a lot of people say it's more than an animal. I personally think it is, but regardless, there's a big question mark there as to what their intentions would be if one was ever cornered. Or, you don't know what you're going to get on the other end.
You don't, whenever you don't know what you're saying to them, or what that howl means, or even the wood knocks. You don't know what it means. You know how it is. Like you've been out on dates and stuff, and somebody kind of come on to you, and you like them, and that's where you get to dating each other or whatever. But it could be the same thing with Bigfoot with some of these howls. He could be taking it a whole different way than what you. Well, I'm just making a Bigfoot call.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have any idea. Not that it may all be mating season or something, but it quite
well, you know what? There's a lot of animals, and I think humans included, that when it comes to mating or breeding or pairing up, they become more aggressive. Males become more aggressive.
Oh yeah, males, I really do, and that's what I have told her. I said, depending on. Well, it's just like any male animal. Depending on how long it has been since he has mated.
Yeah.
More and more, especially with a wild animal. Humans have some type of control, but animal. And then depending on what you're saying, you could be talking to him like you were walking down the street and walked up on a prostitute.
Right,
that's exactly what you're there for.
Anything. You could be sounding like another male who's saying, "No, get out of here. This is my area." Because it could be. It could be anything.
It could be anything.
As a matter of fact, there was a group of scientists not too long ago. I think they went up to the Northwest or Canada. I'm not sure. And they were in this really remote area where they stayed in this cabin. God, I can't remember what the name. But basically, they were researchers. And they had stuff being thrown at the cabin that they were staying in.
Yeah,
in the middle of the night.
I saw that. Yeah, sure did. I saw that. And when they went out the next morning and they had videoed the roof, they had rocks laying all over the roof. Yeah, yeah.
And basically, they were on a lakeside, which is, in other words, they weren't under an area where you could say, well, they had rocks dropping off the side of a mountain and landing on the roof.
Oh, no.
There was nothing that could explain it.
Something had to throw those rocks on that roof. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Sure do.
And these guys, and this was, I remember that they basically where they were out, they were like in the middle of nowhere, and
way out in the woods. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think that sometimes, despite a lot of Bigfoot researchers that they want to be like all friendly and stuff, and I don't have a problem with that. But I still think that a lot of them throw caution to the wind, thinking
they do.
that the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, is going to take it the right way. Okay? And I'm thinking, these animals or whatever they are, they take great pains to stay away from us, not to have contact with us, little or
they do.
None.
They actually do. Yeah. But
and maybe when you start kind of for lack of a better word, chasing them around the woods or making all these things, I'm thinking one of these days is going to say, I don't want to communicate with you. I don't want to have interaction with me. And like you said, and if they've got young ones or they just killed something and they're eating.
Yeah, that would be a bad time. If they had just been through a hunt and
you could find yourself in a predicament
hungry.
and
as far as they didn't want to be bothered at all. Yeah. I sure know what you mean, but that's why whenever I go out, I just try to be quiet, and carry them little things like the water or sardines or eggs. I have carried eggs.
Right.
They seem to like eggs. Like I said, I don't carry anything that has been cooked, like a hamburger or French fries or anything like that. But to me, you kind of want to make friends with them, because you got to keep in mind that hey, you're in their house, you're in their habitat, and you need to kind of keep that in mind. I mean, the way that I look at the way some researchers do with the howls and the beating on trees. What if somebody had busted in your front door with a baseball bat and then went to beating on the side of the wall? Like, what are you going to think? So and I think that I have had a real good luck coming in a pretty close contact with them. Because they have gotten close.
And that's the difference, I would say. When you describe when you were leaving out the water and the food, you were doing it on their terms. You were leaving it out there.
Oh, yeah.
And you would be gone for at least a day, a couple of days.
Okay?
Oh, yeah. And that
way, it kind of gave them time to watch it to see if it was going to move. I mean, I know that kind of sound off the wall or whatever. But, whenever you don't know what's going on and something odd is in your yard or something, you're going to kind of watch it a little bit to see if it does move or what kind of action it takes. But after they see that thing sitting there for a day or two, then they're going to be curious enough that they're going to begin to walk up to poke at it or look around at it and see what it is. So that's just my method, being calm and quiet out there.
And I think that also leads you to believe that they're intelligent enough after a while to even avoid, those cams, the ones that they tie to the trees and they live out. Out there.
Mm-hmm.
They sound smart enough to, after a while, to figure out,
what you're doing,
or stay away from it, or something like that. If they don't understand the mechanics of it, they're like, I'm not getting close to whatever that is,
Yeah, that kind of gets back to, I feel like they're psychic and can kind of read your mind what you're doing.
Yes.
What I have told people about, I've had a lot of people ask me, why hadn't you put out trail cams? Well, I have put them out in the past, but what I think about trail cams and that type of stuff is probably while you're out there tied it to the tree and getting it set up, you have got that on your mind. Yes. And if Bigfoot is psychic enough to know what you're sitting there thinking, he's sitting on the hill over there, watching you, saying, okay, now, we know not to get around that tree because this idiot just put a tracer cam out there to try to get a picture. We're sure not going to do that.
And I'm gonna put this out for you, because I sometimes think, besides the rip and everything, I sometimes think these animals are really, really, really good at camouflaging themselves.
Gosh, yeah. Well, I tell you what I have done. I have, been just going down the road, and I would just take the camera where we had sightings or stuff like that. I just take the camera and make pictures, and I would never see a Bigfoot. You get home and you download some of these pictures, and I've got a man in Texas that goes over a lot. He's a member. He joined a while back, and that's what he told me whenever he joined. He was in the military. I don't know exactly what it was called, but that was his job in the military, was to look at pictures to see what he could find in those pictures. A lot of aerial pictures back then and stuff. But he said he also did jungles over in Vietnam and stuff. So I send these pictures to him. And in maybe 2 or 3 days, he'll send me back a picture, and there'll be a big red circle around a Bigfoot. I mean, they just camouflage that way. But after he points it out, I mean, you can see them real well. But they do just camouflage in so well that it's just hard to see them whenever you're just going down the road. But
the point also, I think, is that you could be out there doing all this stuff and setting up all these cameras, and he could be out there right on the perimeter watching what you're doing.
Watching exactly what you're doing now.
You're thinking, I'm going to surprise the Bigfoot when it comes by tonight. And the Bigfoot's going, all right, let me get out of here. And I just think that these animals, or I don't want to relate to them as animals. I do think that they're more than animals. But I think because, they've adapted to their environment and this is how they survive, they're very good at camouflaging themselves where...
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I had a lady that was teaching her son, not this past hunting season, but hunting season before that. She was teaching her son how to bow hunt deer and stuff. And they went in the woods and they got in a deer stand one afternoon. And this Bigfoot came up under the a tree stand and howled and yelled at them for a pretty good while. Anyway, they finally got back out. It finally wandered on off down to the woods. I think they were kind of interfering with its hunting that afternoon. But anyway, the lady contacted me, and she was telling me all about it, and I talked to her on the phone. And I just asked her, I said, well, did you see any footprints up there that you might can make a picture of? And she said, well, we really didn't pay any attention. We were just wanting to get out of the woods. But her and her son and some other people went back the next day with a camera to see if they could find some footprints or whatever. She was going to send me a picture of the deer stand. And as she walked through the woods, she said she just made a picture or two as they were walking down the little trail. And I thought I could tell that there was a Bigfoot in one of the pictures, so I sent it to this guy in Texas.
Right.
And he had called me, and he said he wanted to know where it was. And of course, I told him, it was here in North Alabama was where this happened. I don't ever really give exact locations of people's names. But anyway, he said whoever, I didn't even tell him that it was a lady that was making the picture. He said whoever made this picture walked within about 15 feet of this Bigfoot. And he emailed the picture back to me, and you could see this Bigfoot. It kind of resembled a bush sitting there, but you could tell. You could whenever he zoomed in, you could see the Bigfoot's face and everything. So I get on the phone and I call this lady and I said, I'm emailing you a picture right now. I said, you came in contact with a Bigfoot, but you made a picture of one about 10 or 15 feet away from it. And she said, no, I thought she was going to faint whenever she, got the picture. And we were talking. I went on and sent it, and she got on her computer and looked at the picture. And she was just real upset that she had walked that close to one, and he didn't even have any idea that it was there.
And you know what? And I think really sometimes the ones that they capture, with the red eyes, I think it's just like, when animals that you hit the light at a certain angle and their eyes will glimmer.
Yeah, that blood, I think, is what, and water in their eye, whatever.
Right, and I think sometimes that's why sometimes you get some who say, they had red eyes, and then others who say don't. And I think it's just that the same thing like with humans with the red eyes or with animals that they kind of glimmer. Just depends on the angle.
It's just whatever angle that years ago I had a little camera. I forgot to make what kind it was, but every picture you'd make of somebody, their eyes were red, and they had to come out with a different something in that camera later on for every time you made a picture, somebody's eyes weren't red. But if you were looking right at somebody, their eyes were just as red as blood, in there. But
right.
I think they finally got that fixed. But now with digital cameras, I don't have that. I don't make many pictures of people. Mostly, I make pictures of the woods and things like that now. So I'm trying to catch.
I'm sure you've learned after a while that sometimes it's just sheer luck when you capture.
Mostly, it is. Mostly, whenever you catch a Bigfoot like it, one thing that I will tell people, if you're in an area where they have been sighted, and you think they are, if you just go down the road making pictures, that way you kind of catch them by surprise. Sometimes you don't actually give them time to hide, and then when you get back and download that picture, sometimes you'll actually find one in there, but. That would be kind of a easy way to try to get you a picture of one.
Absolutely. Now, Jim, I'm going to ask you. I mean, I know we've been talking about Bigfoot, but like you mentioned earlier, this is just a different field of the paranormal. Have you ever had your own paranormal or very unusual experience besides actually seeing a Bigfoot? I mean, besides that, that's pretty out there anyway. Have you ever had any encounters or experiences?
Well, I have had encounters with what I think are ghosts, from time to time. But I don't mess with ghosts much anymore. I tell you what I did one time. I was off in the woods hunting, and I found this rock, pretty rock. It was had quartz crystals in it, and it was a big rock. I had brought it home, and that was the worst thing I ever did. There was something associated with that rock.
Really?
I never had such bad luck in my life. Before I got home, I had never had any trouble with my Jeep, and before I got home, the transmission, I like when I got home, TV tore up within a few days, washing machine, just all kinds of stuff. It was just one thing after another.
Really?
And me and another friend carried this rock back, and I kind of got afraid to mess with spirits and ghosts, because if you're not careful, you can bring some of that stuff home with you. And I talked to some other people that were into the paranormal stuff too. Some of the members and stuff like that. And that's what I told them. I said, I just went to having bad luck. And one of them said, well, what have you brought home? Have you been like to a antique shop and bought something? I said, no. I said, the only thing I brought home was this rock, and I had it in a little flower bed out in front of my house. But we got that rock out of there pretty soon. And the last thing the rock did to me, my Jeep was in the shop because transmission went out. So I called this friend. He was also a member. And he had known what all was going on. Of course, me and him had talked about the rock. And I said, I want you to bring your truck down here. I said, we're going to load this rock up and carry it right back to where I found it.
Okay.
And the last thing that this rock done to me, it's kind of funny now. It wasn't funny when it happened, but it took both of us to pick this big rock up. I had to have some help getting it that day. But anyway, he bent down and was picking up on it, and I bent down and picking up on it. And it was just like somebody took his feet and just pulled both of his feet out from under him. I mean, he just sat down on the ground on his butt just as hard as he could sit. Then that got me off balance, and I fell over, and I hit the top of his head with the underside of my nose just as hard as I could hit it, and I broke my nose. The nose just went to just went to pouring. It just went to bleeding, and of course I reached up in the cab of the truck where I had an old I had roll of paper towels, and I grabbed those and I put on my nose trying to get it stopped. And that's what he said. He said, well, but before we take this back, he said, do you want me to carry you to the doctor? To the emergency room.
Right.
Because we knew I had broke my nose. Eyes was just pouring water, and my nose was bleeding. And I said, no. I said, I ain't going nowhere till we get this rock back over there where it came from.
About how much did it weigh? How big was it?
I would say that rock weighed around 200 pounds. It took me and him both to pick it up. It was
and you found it out
rock.
like in the middle of nowhere or in a field?
Yeah, just out in woods. There was a lot of rocks out there in this particular little area.
Right.
And actually, they had done some logging in there, and that kind of tore the ground up, I guess, a little bit. And I guess it had pushed this rock up. And whenever I saw it, with quartz crystals,
yeah,
I said, I sure would like to have that rock. And so actually what I done, I got on cell phone, and I called my son, told him where I was at, and whenever he got off work that afternoon, if he would run by there, and we would put it in my Jeep, and I'd bring it home. And of course, I think that's what we did. But I tell you what, I wished 1,000 times that I had never seen that rock.
How long did you keep it before you said, I got to get rid of this thing quick?
I guess about a month and a half. It took me that long to figure out.
Yeah.
This rock must
to realize
be
what
bad
the origin.
Yeah.
The reason why I was asking you how big it was because I'm wondering, could that rock have been ever used as part of either the foundation of a house or some type of settlement out there?
Yeah, what I think it was in that particular area. Of course, there were Indians everywhere back then. Years ago. And what I was wondering, was it like on a ceremonial ground or maybe a burial ground? Sure. And I just didn't even think about it. Or I mean, if I thought it was a burial ground, I wouldn't have bothered it.
Sure,
but whenever you see something that's pretty and it catches your eye, and that was the first thing I thought of. I had a little flower bed out in front of the house with some little shrubs and that type of stuff, and I said that rock would really be pretty.
As far as you're concerned, you just found this nice piece of quartz thing out in the middle of nowhere. So, it
didn't belong to anybody, and it was just something that nobody could see it. out there, so I was real proud of it, that I had it in the yard out there. But it had let me know, or I believe it let me know real quick that you wanted to go home. So so that's what
Yeah.
I did. I carried it. I carried it right back to where we found it, and had dug a little bit of dirt out from around it so we could pick it up that afternoon. And I even put dirt back around it, whenever we carried it
And,
back over there. But
and it's almost like, and then you got a broken nose for your troubles.
yeah, yeah. That was and back then, whenever I had the transmission put in the Jeep, that was about another $2,000 that I could have got by without having to spin, because I had never had any trouble at all, nothing with that Jeep. But that day, heck, on the way home, it got to where it wouldn't change gears right.
Right.
And I thought, well, I've had this Jeep a pretty good while, but never had any problem with it. I always kept it serviced and everything, and I just couldn't figure out why. It didn't dawn on me then that maybe this rock was bad luck. If it had, I'd have turned around and went back with it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because you're doing the
but
normal thing. Stuff breaks down, and you're like, okay, well, you didn't think of the timing as having anything to do one thing with the other till
oh
later.
no, sure didn't. But yeah, that kind of made me think. Yeah, you need to sort of leave spirits and ghosts and stuff like that alone. So I let some of the other members do the. I don't mind going to like a haunted house, and I'll take the report or whatever. But as far as getting in there and trying to see it or contact the ghost to see why they're there, or whatever. My outlook on that too is a lot of times whenever houses are haunted, they're haunted for some reason, and if that ghost is really not bothering you, maybe that's where he or she is supposed to be. Because once you run them out of that house, they're going to have to go somewhere.
Yeah,
and I sure don't want them coming home
follow
with
me home.
I don't want them coming home with me. So I just try not to mess with a ghost. But now I have seen UFOs also.
Really?
Sometimes a lot of times now, if you're going to be out in the nighttime in the woods looking for Bigfoot, sooner or later you're going to see UFO fly over, and you say, well, how do you know it's a UFO? If it flies over and got lights on it and it doesn't make any sound at all,
right,
and it's some type of UFO. If it just floats over, or if it hovers over you, or if you see a light pop out of it or something, it gets a UFO. And I have done that, but
well, yeah,
just
and
about all the time.
And I have to laugh because a lot of times, don't get me wrong, I know that sometimes people see things and it's not a UFO. It's not. It's just that.
Oh yeah.
But nowadays, people know what a plane looks like or a helicopter.
Oh yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some type of sound.
Yeah.
But whenever you see something come over, maybe it's got one big light in the middle and three lights around it in a triangle form, which I've seen that. You know. Well, and then I also think sometimes, well, is it some type of top secret, something that the government has?
Right.
But I don't think they have anything like that doesn't make any sound and can just hover, and just move so slow. It looks like it ought to fall out of the sky, sometimes.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I'm saying. Most people either they know what they look like or they know the way, like.
Yeah.
With the if you see a plane going across the sky, even at nighttime, even if it's going slow because it's a bigger, jet or whatever, you still know what that is. It can't zigzag around or do stuff.
Yeah, and I always have a pair of binoculars.
Okay.
And you can look at some of these things, and the lights they just don't look right, sometimes or whatever. But now, if you look at, like you said, a plane. If you have got some good binoculars, usually you can see the windows down the side. Not all the time. If it's real high, of course you can't. But like some of them fly here, I mean, they already whenever they come over me, they're already beginning to get a little bit lower because they're going into Atlanta up there, and they're already beginning to come down. A lot of times, you can with a good pair of binoculars, you can actually see the windows. But not every time. But
right,
they are beginning to come down.
But you obviously know I'm not looking at a regular plane or helicopter or anything that that you could say, this is man-made. It's like,
Hmm.
and as a matter of fact, and I don't, like we were talking about that sometimes you see a correlation between Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings. I mean, I've
You do. Yep.
gone to a couple of
Hmm.
MUFON meetings here in my area, and I've had people, that besides, the sightings, then they have
Yeah.
some of them go into what they think are abduction
Yeah.
scenarios
Hmm. Yeah.
where they're not really sure because it's almost like a memory kind of feeling that they get, like
It,
they're not really
it's kind
sure.
of blocked out. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. To where they can't remember everything that happened
Right,
that night.
or it's like,
And
oh, it's almost dreamlike in a way. But there comes a
yeah.
point where they
Hmm.
realize there's something more to this than just I'm having a dream.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
all
Hmm.
mixed up in, and some of them, I've sat with people there, after like the regular meeting, and I mean they've described, almost for lack of a better word, sometimes paranormal events, and makes you think, we were looking about it. Sometimes paranormal or ghostly events, maybe it's
Yeah.
not per se spirits of the undead. Maybe there's some type of extraterrestrial abduction scenario
Yeah.
going on where you're
Hmm.
seeing or
Yeah.
experiencing things or hearing things,
Yeah. Hmm.
and
Sure could be. Yeah.
I mean,
Heck, I have even got to the point. They hadn't done it lately, but heck, I have had police and deputies tell me of UFOs because they know I'm not going to tell their name or anything. But I have actually had police in the area and sheriff deputies say, "Now I'm going to tell you this, but now I could lose my job if you ever mention
yes,
this." And I have even had local police bring people to my house at night that claimed they had seen a UFO and were just frightened to a death. I can remember one a couple came by here. A police they went to the police station. They were coming up the road, and this light got behind them, over the car coming up the road, and they just took off to the police station. And anyway, he brought them up here that night. I guess that was about midnight. And do you
right,
know those people would not leave until daylight? They
yeah.
told no, they wouldn't get out of the house. I mean, they were that frightened at what they had seen. But sure understand how it is because I've come into some close, I guess, close encounters. You would call it out there in the woods, especially if, like I have done. You sit around an old cemetery at night that nobody's been buried in like in 100 years, and you're kind of keeping an eye out that way, and you're kind of keeping an ear out over here listening for Bigfoot or whatever, and then
Uh-huh.
you see a UFO go over, and it's like, what am
Yeah.
I doing out here? But it's like just a lot of fun
Well,
to me.
let me
You
tell
know.
you something. And like you said, when you have somebody that's refusing to leave until
Hmm.
it's daylight, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Whether what they saw was real or not, they think it's real. Which usually
They
what they're saying is
they
they're
believe
not
it for.
lying. Whatever experience they had,
Yeah.
it
Hmm.
scares them
That
bad enough to say, "I'm not going anywhere until it's
yeah.
daytime."
Actually, the next day, after that happened, a policeman, whenever he started to get off that ship, I think he got off that ship at 8 o'clock that morning. But he came back by my house that day, and he said, "Now, that's what you look for." He said, "Whenever people are telling the gosh honest truth," he
Yeah.
said, "those people were terrified."
Yes.
And he said, "Heck, there's what you look for whenever somebody's telling you about a UFO or Bigfoot or anything." He said, "If
Anything.
they are that frightened," he said, "they have seen something." And he said the same thing you did. He said maybe what they saw was some kind of airplane or something, but he
Right.
said they believe they saw something from another world.
But it was
And
weird enough that
so,
they knew or they thought at some point that's not a plane or whatever.
this thing is after us, yeah.
Yeah.
And it possibly could have been, and they could have possibly been abducted that night and just didn't know it.
And I think that happens a lot more.
Yeah,
And this is the thing. There's the people that'll call the police or they'll contact you or whatever.
yeah,
But you know what, Jim? There's a whole bunch of people out there that, despite what everybody thinks because of the reality TV thing we got going on, there's a lot of people that don't say anything to anybody unless it's like
Oh
their family
no,
members. And they're like,
mm-mm.
shut up, don't talk about this.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what their family will tell them. But now, actually, I'm kind of glad that we, I got on that subject. That is one of the main reasons that I put my AlabamaBigfootSociety.com website together, was to give people a place that they could tell what they had seen
Sure.
without actually coming in contact with me. I mean, you can sit there and type it down and tell me exactly what you see. I will not laugh at you or make fun of you. But
Exactly.
that was one thing that I wanted to do with the website, is to give other people like me that remembering what I had been through a place to where you could tell what you've seen without being afraid of ridicule or somebody putting your name all over town. So and so said that they saw a UFO last night, and they were just frightened to death about it. Yeah, I mean, I don't never do anything like that. I mean, whatever you
Right.
tell me, that's as far as it goes. And anybody that has seen something like that and needs somebody to tell it to, I'll be more, and I'm sure that you would too. But
Oh, of course,
I'd be more than happy
absolutely.
to read.
Absolutely.
Or if you want to send me your phone number, I'll try to get back with you.
Right, and see, and I
'Cause
think sometimes the most you could do for them, and which is a lot, is I might not have the answers for you, but at least I'm willing to
yeah,
listen to you. And what
yeah.
I think is more
Before we
important is
can
tell them,
talk
guess
about it.
what? I've
Hmm.
heard other people that have had similar experiences.
Yeah, hmm yeah.
And that
Just,
makes people feel
probably,
better, like, okay, so I'm not, it's just not me. They kind of, especially if they're really
uh,
frightened.
yeah, yeah. That like I said, that was one of the main reasons that I did want to do my website. Yeah, of course, I like to take the reports and kind of keep up with where all this stuff's going on, like UFOs or ghost sightings and stuff like that. But and Bigfoot, where I can kind of keep up with where they're at. I mean, I just enjoy doing it. But a lot of people need that little bit of therapy, and
Yeah.
that may not be the right word, but
But it is the right
whatever.
word.
Yeah,
Yes, it
but
is. It's
but
exactly the
you
right
need
word.
to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to get it off your chest, and it doesn't seem as bad whenever you talk to
Hmm.
somebody about it. I mean, there've been several things that I have seen that I for a long time didn't have anybody to tell about it, or if you did, you're crazy, this kind of stuff. But now, it's kind of different that I have the sight and that type of stuff. I mean, whenever somebody sees something, a lot of times you just really need somebody to talk to about it. And like I said, it doesn't seem as bad, like you said, whenever you say, well, somebody else had this almost same experience.
Well, you know what?
So
But because believe it or not, for these people, it depends on your personality. For most people, Jim, their world is like, I know this and I know, and when they either see or they have an encounter, it's like their world reality tilts on its side,
it does. Yeah.
and people start questioning everything. Like, okay, if this is possible, how many other things are out there? Like all of a sudden, your
hmm
reality, your things that you're so sure about, everything shifts, and for a lot of people, this is really, really hard.
It is. I have actually been there. Sure have. I mean, like whenever I have seen some things that I just could not explain, like with more especially UFOs, and you just
Yes.
wonder what else is out there that we don't know about. Is this paranormal, or is this happening to other people too? But it's pretty paranormal. I mean, it doesn't
Well,
happen every day.
you know what? I think, let's face it. I mean, especially with the advances of astronomy and all these other
Yeah,
things, it would be ludicrous to think that we're the only life form in the universe
yeah,
or in the galaxy for wherever. And then you go the next
yeah.
step, okay, that there's some type of species or civilization that's more advanced than us. Why not? That they could travel
Yeah.
interstellar? Yes. I mean, to me,
Oh,
none of these things are out of the realm of possibility. The only
oh no.
question I think that's left is what a lot of people like are kind of a little bit scared about is if they're here, if they do visit us, what are their intentions with us? You know.
Right. Yeah. That's what I wonder about. Why are they here? What is the particular reason that they're here? Why are they abducting people? Are they working on a hybrid race that
Yes.
can live here? Or they unable to live in this atmosphere? And are they trying to develop a hybrid race?
Or
that
or
can
they
actually
maybe
live
they're
here.
just observing. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Well, you say that now. There was one man that I knew for a long time. Matter of fact, he was a big attorney in this area, and
okay,
I had no idea that he believed in paranormal. And I used to carpet and had a sign business. And he called me one day. He needed a sign, so I went and put up the sign. And somehow something came up over there that we got to talking about cemeteries and ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that.
okay,
And he and I got to, I found out that day that he believed just about like I did in the paranormal and
okay.
stuff. And he actually believed that UFOs we see now, this was him, and like I said, he was well-educated attorney. He said he believed that UFOs were from our future, and that
Yeah.
it was people coming back here to maybe something had to be changed a little bit here, or to watch us to learn how their ancestors lived in, say, the 21st century and stuff like that. And I had never
Sure.
thought about that, but it is possible that they are time travelers. And a lot of people say, well, I don't believe in time travel. I have learned through all this paranormal stuff that nothing's impossible. It may take a long time to do time travel, but I do believe someday time travel will be possible.
Well, let's face it. Come on, Jim.
If
If
it
time
already
travel was possible, what would the first thing everybody want to do? Oh, let's travel back to the Renaissance and see what it was back then.
yeah,
Because,
hmm
that's the nature of the beast. We're very curious. I mean, it's different when you see a
yeah,
movie
yeah,
versus
I
if you
would.
could actually go back and see it yourself firsthand.
Yeah, I would. I would like to go back to whenever the pyramids were being built.
Yeah.
I would like to see exactly how did they build them. I mean,
Let me tell you
it would
something.
be something to
That's
you
that's
know
that,
to
that that's
do.
a that's another part of of the UFOs or the extraterrestrials. One
Yeah.
of the
Hmm.
theories that they have is that all these people that built all these huge monumental palaces and they
Yeah.
had some type of help from extraterrestrials because they still
Yeah.
can't
Hmm.
understand how they were able to pull and erect all these pieces of stone that weigh tons
Put them
and
together so tight. Yeah.
with
Hmm.
supposedly with the tools that they had on hand, which I just looked up some of the stuff and I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I have a hard time. Like they were explaining also, like let's say the pyramids, that it's a very sandy area, which of course gives way.
Hmm.
I was thinking that must have been really hard, even if you say manpower and maybe a little bit of animal power and
Yeah.
that's a lot of hard work. And it's true. You
Gosh.
can't
Yeah.
help but ask yourself how they did this.
Yeah. I believe that they had some type of help, from alien. I can't prove it in any which way, but I believe that they had to have some type of help, like lifting those stones and especially cutting them. How could you cut? Didn't they
Yeah.
pull some of those stones in there from like miles and miles away? How could
Yes.
you cut like one stone, say 10 miles away, that's going to fit perfect with like another one over here that's on the side of the pyramid now? I just don't see how they could do it unless they didn't have some type of cutting, like a laser or
Yes.
something to cut it with, Or,
Cutting, the erection, the hauling these things up as it got
hmm
bigger towards the apex. I mean, when you look at all these things, you're like, even now, even with machinery now, it would be difficult with cranes and
yeah,
things. It's like it boggles the mind, when you start really
hmm
thinking about how they actually did it. And it's not only in
it
Egypt;
is.
it's all these civilizations across the world that actually were able to do something similar.
That had built the pyramids and that or other pyramids like in Central America and South America. Down
Yes,
there, a lot of that stuff that I watch. How could they possibly even? Why did they even think about doing that kind of stuff? Some of it,
yes,
but and then that's like the Indian mounds that we have all through here. You
hmm
know, why were those built and what's
yeah,
inside
that's
them?
right. Alabama
And
does have a lot of the
a
mounds out
lot of
there.
Indian mounds, yeah. But you just wonder who built those and how long. I have seen documentaries and read, that they like get it one hay basket full of dirt at a time. But gosh, that would take years and years to build
Yeah.
one. It just
And now
had
you
one
think
or
about it, these civilizations, they didn't have the, how can the advantage of, let's say, like machinery to harvest.
Oh
Basically,
no.
part of the
Mm.
population was out there producing food, whether it was through harvesting,
Mm-hmm.
plants or hunting. Okay,
Yeah.
basically just to exist from either day to day or season to season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so because that's what part that you would think most of their time is taken up with.
Yeah.
So
Is
that leaves
having
all the other
something to eat.
time to
Mm-hmm.
erect the monument. It's like, okay,
So you had to have a whole lot of people working,
yes,
and you had to have a whole lot of people, like you said, trying to get food for not
yeah,
only themselves but for these workers that were real hungry. Because they had
yes.
worked all day. It just, it's unbelievable how they built that kind of stuff.
So
That's what I would like. That's why I'd like to go back in time to see how all this stuff was done.
well, and I think, and I always say, everybody thinks of the paranormal as strictly all the ghost stuff, and I think that's very interesting in
yeah,
and of itself. But I think the
yeah,
paranormal field has so many different areas that is super interesting, and that
it is. Mm-hmm.
contrary to what everybody thinks, that okay, well now you know what, they've got, yeah, you know what, with all the electronics, all the equipment, I think it's even more interesting than ever because now you're actually able to either capture things, either, with photography or, all these
Mm-hmm.
apps
Yeah,
now that can tell you, okay, it's not a fake, it's real, or
yeah.
they
Mm-hmm.
could, stuff for either analyzing recordings or aerial
Yeah.
photography, what they could do now with the satellites where they could do that overhead
Oh, yeah.
photography, that they've even been able to find different underground buildings and pyramids
Yeah.
till now.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're actually seeing them for the first time. Let me tell you something. To
Mm-hmm.
me, the paranormal has never been as interesting as it is now.
No,
Okay.
and what I think too is heck, our people like me and you, other investigators too. We are the ones that is just on the very tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
Heck,
Oh,
it is just now beginning, and
yeah.
I wonder what it will lead to long after heck I'm dead and gone. I mean,
Well,
what will they find out?
I
We're just kind of getting the ball rolling.
I believe that the world that we live in, it's got so many mysteries that have yet to be solved or explained
Gosh,
or
yeah. Hmm.
found, just even found. I think there's a lot of things out there that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
forget it. We don't have any idea about it, despite the. But sometimes I think we get caught up because there's television and the internet, and that
Yeah.
we found
Yeah.
out everything about everything, and it's like I don't think so. And I'm talking
I
even
don't think
besides
so
going into
yet.
outer space. Let's not even go there. That's a whole different thing.
Oh no, that's a whole nother ball game
Yeah,
right
but
there.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about
There.
here, good old planet Earth, and
Yeah. There is so
that there's
much
just
here
more
that
to
needs to
it than
be
the five
solved.
senses.
Yeah, there is just so much here that needs to be solved.
Okay,
Mysteries.
so Jim, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include your website on my credits. But
Oh, okay.
anyway, if you could go ahead, and if anybody wanted to reach, it sounds like the best way to do it is reaching out to your website. What's your
Yeah,
website
yeah.
address?
Website is Alabama Bigfoot Society .com. That's all one word. And
Okay.
on there you'll find a contact us page, and that's the easiest way to contact me is through the contact us page, because
Okay.
I don't always get to check email every day. I have had a lot of trouble with my eyesight here over about the last 2 years. So some days I can read email good, and some days I can't.
Okay.
So if I don't get right back with you within a day or two, just give me a little time. I do try to answer all of them. Sure do.
Okay. And I'm going to ask one more question. Do you still have
Okay.
Chico, the Bigfoot alert dog?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's in here with me today. Sure is. Yeah. Chico has been with me a long time, and I actually got to carrying Chico out whenever we were doing the Bigfoot research. What
Really?
I thought about one time, somebody somewhere out west. I
Uh-huh.
can't remember exactly where it was, but anyway, I have got it in my files. But anyway, it was somebody had a Bigfoot sighting, and they said whenever they saw this Bigfoot walking through the woods, somewhere like in California or Oregon, somewhere, said not very far behind him was like a big wolf, And
Okay.
I got to thinking, well, does Bigfoot have pets, or
Yeah.
was he using that wolf, for some type of work, maybe like a pack animal or something? That just crossed my mind. So then
Hey.
it dawned on me, well, why not take Chico whenever we just sitting out, like at an old cemetery or something, trying to come in contact with Bigfoot, to let Bigfoot see that I'm a kind to animals, and that heck, we have pets and that type of stuff. And I actually think that heck it helps, you know.
Yes.
And then Chico sometimes I didn't ever let him run, like out in the woods, because afraid of Bigfoot
Oh,
might think
sure.
heck, he was something good to eat right quick. But I would always hold him and pet him, and sometimes he would just be in the Jeep if it was real cold or whatever. But then he got to where sometimes he would just get real nervous. All his hair would stand up. He would go to shaking and that
Uh-huh.
type of stuff. And we kind of decided that was whenever they were like in pretty close to us. Bigfoot was, because we would either hear something or a wood knock, or
Mm-hmm.
usually whenever he would get real nervous, then that was kind of a sign that Bigfoot was pretty close. So he kind of worked out both ways to kind of let them know that we had pets and we liked animals, and of course, not saying that Bigfoot is an animal. I think he's
Right.
about half animal and about half human.
Yes.
But
And Big.
Chico kind of helped, So I kind of consider him about the first Bigfoot research dog. You know,
Well, he
you
must
know.
have been
So
thinking, you need to leave me home next time. I mean,
I probably did a lot of times, but he always seemed like he likes to ride, and
oh
he always
yeah.
seemed like every time that I would start out, he was right there at the door, ready to go. So I thought, well, I'll just carry you a time or two and see how we come out. And then seemed like every time that I would go, he was always ready. So of course sometimes it'd be cold. He'd have to wear a sweater or whatever to keep warm out there
Yeah.
too. But heck, we just mostly had a lot of fun out there doing it, and everything. But
Let me ask you something, Jim. Do you live now in an area where you're close to a wooded area where they could come to where you're at, to your house? Bigfoot is.
yeah. Actually, I do. And a while back, I guess it was last summer. I just tell you this real quick. I
Sure.
have had some trouble with my eyes, and I've had to have some eye surgery, and I can't see how to drive at night. So I'm not able to get out by myself. I have to depend on somebody else, if I can get somebody else, to go Bigfooting at night. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I tell you this so I can tell you what else happened. Uh, After I had this eye surgery and I was
Okay.
unable to get out at night, sometimes I could sit out on the front porch and I could hear maybe one or two howl.
Okay.
And then it was last summer. One of my neighbors that lives, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 yards from me. Anyway, we have got a fence, a little pasture like between my house and their house. And they said that one night they went out and said they saw a Bigfoot in this pasture in front of
Oh.
my house, and said that whenever they walked out, that it went to running, and it actually ran across the pasture and it jumped the fence here in front of my house.
Huh.
So what I was wondering is, since I hadn't been able to get out in the woods like I was doing for a while, have
Okay.
they come in closer, kind of wondered what happened to me, or maybe they know, that I'm having trouble with eyesight and can't get out in the woods like I did. But that was what she said. Now that I say that, I believe that lady said she actually called police that night, and didn't report a Bigfoot, but she did report a prowler in her backyard.
Okay.
And but that's just what she said, that it was a Bigfoot, and said that it was over here pretty close to my house. So it kind of makes me wonder, do they have they kind of come in a little closer? I don't particularly want one in the yard, but
Okay.
I do like to come in contact with them like out in the woods. I mean, I like to get close to them where maybe you get a picture. But I don't think you'd want them coming to your house like that lady in Tuscaloosa we were talking
Well,
about
you
earlier.
know what? And the reason why I asked is that sometimes, if we think about that the psychic aspect of
Yeah,
it, where, do they know, or they aware that you have are basically interested in have all these people coming to you. Like basically, you're like the
Yeah,
headquarters in that area
in
for information
this
about that.
particular area. Yeah. Sure
And
am. I did have another thing that I wonder about. Do they know that my eyesight's bad right now? I had a lady to tell me of a Bigfoot sighting she had one morning, so I can see how to drive in the daytime, okay. And I was like, so after she told me about it, I went down to the place where she had this sighting, and I was going to do a little quick video and make some pictures. And when I got back home and downloaded the video and the pictures, I had a picture of a Bigfoot back out in the woods there at that same place where this lady had seen it. And I have still got that picture on the computer. Matter of fact, that's what I was doing this morning, was going through some pictures, filing some stuff and everything. So one of the members said that they think that may be why they have come in a little bit closer when I do get out. Is they know that I can't see them anyway,
right,
so
right, right.
they actually come in a little closer.
And that's why I was wondering about that, especially like because like you said, sometimes you might, just because you don't actually see them doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah, no.
And like you said, they might even be aware that your eyesight, that maybe you're not going out, or somehow or other they're aware that your eyesight doesn't allow you to go out at night or things like this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where they might feel a little bit more comfortable coming closer to your, to where you live at.
That's kind of what we have talked about. Me and some of the other members have kind of talked about. Yeah, if they know that you can't see them, maybe they're coming in a little bit closer whenever you are out there to check you out. You're a human, and they're wanting to learn about you just as much as you're wanting to learn about them, maybe.
And maybe you've kind of proven after all these years that you're safe. So let me ask you, Jim. I mean, you take stories and information. It doesn't have to be in Alabama. It could be from anywhere, right?
Oh no, heck, anywhere. Yeah. Matter of fact, I have had reports from Russia, and several foreign countries. Sure have people. They was there for a while. I guess Bigfoot got big over in the United Kingdom. I got a lot of reports from over there for. I guess that was like I think last fall, and a lot of people over there were contacting me. Have you seen this, or have you heard what we're seeing? And then this one guy, he sent a bunch of pictures over, and the thing about it is over in the United Kingdom, the pictures he sent, and it's almost identical formations of what we're seeing over here.
Really?
So it makes you think that they're all, they all come in. Do they all come in contact with each other? Are they psychically connected with each other? Or
exactly.
I mean
that
odd.
Opens up an entire field of the what ifs. Of like,
yeah,
it's like a whole different thing of what could be the connection between all these whatever they are, and when they're basically you're seeing kind of the similar thing in another area that has.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I have noticed here too. Like all over the United States, people that take time to make pictures of tree formations or log formations or whatever, they send them, and I can get one from say up in the Carolinas, or maybe on further up north. And it's almost identical to formations that I've got pictures of here in Alabama. And that also makes you think, well, maybe the heck did you migrate, that far? I mean, they could be migrating. I don't think it would be a whole lot of trouble for a male Bigfoot to have like a 50-mile radius of where he hunts and lives. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wouldn't be that big of an area, I don't think, for a normal size Bigfoot.
No, I mean, that's the thing, and I imagine things change. Like we said, when they migrate, they could die, they could have offspring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be a bunch of different things, or like you say, they leave an area because there's a drought, and whatever they hunt moves, so they go chasing it so that they can eat. I mean, there's a lot of things that could impact what territory or what area they visit.
Yeah, and something that I sort of hate to bring up because I don't want to make any enemies. But here in Alabama, they are just completely logging everything here,
Really?
and that's making me wonder: is Bigfoot gonna have to move? He's
Yeah,
gonna
I
have to
would
find
think so.
a
Yeah.
different place to live. But I was talking to, well, matter of fact, it was last night. I was talking to somebody, and they went on Google Earth. I was telling them how massive the logging was here, and they went on Google Earth while we were talking, and
Yeah.
said that from a satellite view, said you just could not believe how much wood had been cut here in just like the last few months.
You know
But
what?
I
And
but I but I can because most of it comes by my house on these log trailers. Sure does, and
and you know what?
it
You're
just
absolutely right. You really don't grasp the enormity of it
mm,
unless you're looking at it from the air.
no no it is just unbelievable. Like from like like 1 week to the next. I mean, just these big holes in the woods are just opened up, and I don't want loggers to get mad with me or anything like that. I mean, I understand you have to cut your woods to make money and stuff like that, but
Right.
what partly needs to be left some is hardwood forest, like oak and hickory and
Yeah.
that type of stuff, because that's where animals live. They don't live that much in
Yes.
a pine forest, but they cut pines and hardwood. The bad thing about hardwood is once it's gone now, it takes 100 years for a hardwood forest to come on. So I've been told by people in the forestry commission
Well, this is
that it
that
that
is
it
exactly my thing. Is like, you're drastically changing or just wiping it off the map, the habitat. And then this is a habitat
you
that
are.
takes a really long time
Yeah.
to recreate itself.
And that is one thing that I have wondered since the first of the year is I have mentioned it on a video or two. Since the
Okay.
first of the year, Bigfoot reports here in Alabama, not only Alabama but all over the southeast, really.
Uh-huh.
Bigfoot reports have just gone up. There was one day, I can't remember the day, but it was in January, and I mean they were really logging all over Alabama. But there was one day that I got 21 reports.
Oh.
Now that is a lot of reports in that one
Yes.
day. The people saw Bigfoot. Now that was Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, up in the Carolinas. But one day got 21 emails, and they were all different. So it makes me wonder: is that Bigfoot moving out, or is he having to? Because of the woods
Well,
being cut like they are.
isn't that strange? Come on, think about it, Jim. What are the odds that you're going to get that many
I have never got that
reports?
many. That was actually more reports one day than what I normally get in a month.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Usually
saying. That's
I
like,
get maybe 10 reports a month. Until
uh-huh.
about first of the year. And I went in there to check my email that afternoon, and there was 21 emails just through the website. And I thought, well, surely some of these is where people, emailed it, then they emailed it again. How that happens sometimes. You get a
Yes.
double email or something. But it wasn't. It was everyone a different report. Sure was, and from all over Alabama, and
That's
but like
so
I said,
unusual.
southeast. Oh, very very unusual.
I
But
mean,
there have been other days that I have received a lot of emails, but that was the most that I ever received one day, and it was like I saw this Bigfoot this morning on the way to work. One of them, I can remember that it was like late in the afternoon. There were sightings of where something had something was like chasing his cows, and his dogs was after it, and he goes out and he thinks he sees a Bigfoot out in the pasture, and this type of stuff. So it was just all kind of stuff that day.
see, that's
Yeah,
that's really weird. I mean, that in and
it
of
was
itself, and I know you're doing a great job of documenting this stuff and things like,
trying
if you
to.
could ever find a correlation, I mean,
Yeah,
why is it that this one particular day did something happen
yeah.
that spurred all these
All of this
or
activity.
produced
Yeah.
all these reports? Because yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that you cannot escape the connection between the environment and not only the Bigfoot but any other animals and like
Well, Yeah, right there's what I think about too. Not only whenever they cut the hardwood forest and everything, not only are you in Bigfoot's habitat, all the deers and other little animals, and
Yes.
plus like people that like to hunt and hike and that type of stuff, camping.
Hmm.
All that's being done away with, and like I said, I understand that the woods need to be cut or logged, because we do
Yes.
need the paper. I understand that, but I just wish there was some way that you just couldn't cut it all at one time. Cut some down, cut some, give it a little time for some of it to grow back, and then cut some more. But
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I do think, for example, down here in my area,
hmm
there's a weekend where the county will give you, depending on your, two free, pretty grown trees that are native here
yeah,
to Florida that'll
hmm
do well. Some of
yeah,
them are fruit trees, other ones are shade trees, so that people
yeah,
basically plant them in their yards just to make
yeah.
up for trees that we lose just for whatever reason.
Yeah, and something else. I don't know if it will have an effect on it or not, but you live in down there where hurricanes hit a lot and stuff.
Oh,
What
yes.
what kind of damage will we have this year? Whenever a hurricane comes in, say it on the coast down there, and comes up through Alabama, and we
Right,
don't have
yeah,
any
because like I
trees,
remember with
like the
Katrina that it hit
windbreak.
Mobile and it hit all that golf course. Well, you know
Yeah,
what? This is the thing, Jim. I think that nature can recover from natural disasters because that's just the way it is. You're going to
because that's the way it
have
is. Yeah.
events that either blow stuff away, and that's normal. That's okay, and
Yeah.
nature will find a way to grow more
Come back.
plants up or
Yeah.
whatever.
hmm
But when
Yeah.
you start decimating entire
Yeah.
areas of forest or marsh or whatever the case, like that, I think
Yeah.
that's a problem. That becomes a big
Yeah.
problem for the environment.
Oh, yeah. For what I have been thinking about here in the last few weeks, because our tornado season and the hurricane season is coming.
Uh-huh.
Usually whenever one hits like down around Mobile or somewhere, say if the winds are like 120 miles an hour when it hits the shore.
Yes.
By the time it gets into the land just a little ways, it's down to maybe 70 or 80 miles an hour. But now, what's it going to do this year from Mobile all the way to Birmingham where there ain't any trees? It ain't going to lose. It ain't going to lose much power. Or I wouldn't think.
Well,
But
and see, and let me ask
it
you,
just
and
makes you wonder.
wouldn't you from your hopefully there won't be another hurricane because I
Maybe
live in a
not. Yeah.
state and an area that every time we see one of those things forming out there, it's like, oh my God. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Here it comes. Yeah.
yeah, here, like, I hope it doesn't come near us. But
Yeah.
wouldn't it be interesting, especially on your end, since you do all this documentation, all this observation, to see
hmm
what happens not only with the regular animals, but if you have an uptick in sightings of Bigfoot where they
Well,
kind
yeah.
of take a cue from all the other animals or their own instincts and say, we need to get out of this area.
I had kind of wondered about that. Will sightings go up whenever a hurricane goes getting close, or I can't remember the year. I think it was 2011 whenever we had those bad tornadoes that came into came in like that Tuscaloosa, and I
Uh-huh.
mean went all the way through Montgomery and on back up through here. They came pretty close to where I'm at, and that's something else I'm wondering about is there ain't any trees to kind of slow them up. So what kind of damage and deaths are we gonna have this year? Because now there are certain places where the woods have been cut so much that you
Yes.
can actually go stand all day long, and I mean the wind blows hard because you
Oh.
don't have that forest there now to block the wind. And I was talking to a man a while back, and as a matter of fact, that's what he and I were talking about. We were standing like up on a hill, and just as far as you could see, there was absolutely nothing. I mean, everything had been cut, and that's what he and I were talking about, that there wasn't any trees there for like a windbreak
Yes,
anymore.
exactly.
So
And I know that
it
not only that, but it does something with the soil deteriorate. I mean, there's a bunch of things
yeah,
that come with it. And you know
bunch
what?
of
And
other things. Yeah.
the reason why I mentioned that is that you know, there was a time where before all these inventions of for the weather, where people basically would look at the animal behavior to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of anticipate we have a storm or something coming in.
What was fixing that? My grandfather, as a matter of fact, he was an old weather predictor. He would always go out every afternoon. I say afternoon, it was almost dark. He'd go out about an hour before dark, and
Okay.
he would always say that he could read the signs. Like leaves on trees would be certain ways, or the clouds would look certain,
Okay.
and he could tell you exactly what it was going to do the next day. If I can remember it. Of course, I was little at the time, but I can remember it, and other people talking about it, kind of not making fun of him or anything, but kind of laughing because he could hit it pretty accurate. If he said that it's going to be raining by 10 o'clock in the morning, it would be raining by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. Yeah.
I wish I had learned that. But now probably all the signs are different now. The way everything is. But he actually could. I mean, and then if he said we're gonna have rain for like 2 or 3 days. He always hit it closer. Like a lot of people, I can remember hearing where I live would talk to him a lot of times, like when I would carry him to town or something like that. Well, what's the weather going to be like for the next few days? I was thinking about planting a garden or whatever, and he would tell you, well, you need to wait to so and so to plant, or today will be a good day to plant this type of stuff.
Yeah.
But old people like that could actually read
Yeah,
signs.
they
So
didn't have the
knew
Weather
what to look
Channel.
for.
You know?
And sometimes even if you got the Weather Channel, it don't always hit just right. But
Oh no, they don't.
It's just amazing to me how people like that could go out and read weather signs.
Yes.
But
Yes.
then there was something about in the fall. He whenever I would go hunting and maybe bring in a rabbit or a squirrel or something like that, he would like check the fur on
Yeah.
animals and say, well, this is going to be a rough winter, or we gonna have a mild winter. Yeah.
So he could look at the
Sure would.
fur growth and kind of guesstimate.
And kind of tell you about what kind of winter you were going to have. Yeah. Sure could, but
you know what? But think about it. I think, like, of course, because you rely on what you can. This is when I think humans were more meshed with their environment because they just had to. I mean, you didn't have the weather channels, you didn't have TV, you didn't have all these, these
you just
things
had to learn
foretell.
it. Mm-hmm.
So you
No,
kind of
you
work with
have all
nature and observe these things.
Mm-hmm. And now that I'm getting on that and thinking about some old things, he said I have done forgot which way it was, but he would look like in October. Usually back then, all most of the leaves fell off the trees in late October.
Okay.
And he would sometimes he'd go hunting with me, and like if his squirrel nests were high, that like in trees, that meant one thing. But if the biggest part of the nest were low in the trees, then that meant something else.
Okay.
It was, one way it was going to be real cold, and one way it was going to be a mild winter. But I can remember him doing that time after time. We'd go out hunting, and he'd say, well, I think I'm going to go with you this afternoon. And we'd be out there sitting, and he'd say, the way that nest is, we're gonna have a rough winter. And I'd be sitting there thinking, well, just be quiet, so maybe a rabbit or a squirrel will hop out, But he would be telling you this stuff that I ought to have been listening to back then, But he could read all the signs like that.
That
And
I
he
think
knew
is
when
so interesting, Jim. And
it
you
is.
know what?
It really was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
It's like, yeah, people. I mean, you know what? A lot of the things we've just gotten away from,
Yeah.
and it's a
Mm-hmm.
shame because I
It
guess it's
is.
because we
Yeah.
just don't need to anymore. Like I said, we have it, but it's I when I hear these stories, I think it's so interesting. And what you were mentioning as far as the environment and what the impact is, it's like a trickle effect.
It is. Mm-hmm. Sure is. Yeah.
But anyway, Jim, thank you so much for sharing all this time with me, with my audience, all these stories.
Well,
And like I said,
just,
I'm going to include your website on the credits.
Oh, okay. I just
And
appreciate you having me on. Sure do.
absolutely.
I really enjoyed it.
And
Sure
I'm
did. Hope.
hoping I'm going to bring you back on soon so you can share more stories and what people
Okay.
contact you
Yep.
with. Because, like I said, I think this is, despite all the people that say, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, there's might be some people that don't see what they think they see, but just too many sightings,
Hmm.
too many things for this to just everybody be wrong, you
It
know?
is. It is. There's got to be something behind it. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
actually, I have got to the point where I don't need any proof about Bigfoot. I
Oh,
mean, I have seen them and stuff. I know they're real, but I know a lot of people hadn't. And a lot of people are, not in health to get out in the woods and look for that type of stuff. And I understand that. And hopefully they like the videos that you do and that I
yes,
try to do to where they can see
yes,
things like that. So hopefully we can doing some good with it.
yes. Okay. Again, I have enjoyed so much our conversation, and we'll be
So
staying
have
in
I.
touch,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. Okay. Like I said, thank you for having us on.
Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
So, what did you think? I don't know. I loved listening to his stories. This is somebody that's been doing this for what, 40 years, 50 years? Um, and like so many of the guests I have, when they have their experiences, they really weren't looking to have the encounter or to see what they see. And luckily, he realized, the importance of documentation. He's got his website, and you know, because I think that over time, this is really what matters when you have X amount of people that tell about their experiences. And so when you take out the people that are lying and you take out the people that were mistaken or drunk or whatever, that still leaves you with so many people that have seen or heard something that's like, okay, now everybody's going to be wrong. And then from there, you draw your conclusions as to what is out there. Um, whether Bigfoot is a lost primate, who knows? Are they totally something separate? They might be. Who knows? Um, what we discussed, are they something from another dimension that can enter in and out through a portal? Possible. But I definitely think that there is something out there. Which, by the way, I totally get the science part of it, where you have researchers that want to try to prove through, DNA evidence, or for lack of an actual body or remains or even a live one. I understand it, because at some point you do need, like all scientific discoveries, to actually bring something forward. But um, I applaud all those people in the scientific community that still leave that door open when it comes to the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch or anything along those lines, versus the other ones that say, oh, all these people are crazy. Forget it. Those aren't real scientists. The real true scientists always leave that door open, because some of the most exciting revolutionary discoveries of mankind have always been made by people that always leave open the possibility of the what if and don't discount everything else. So, again, I am hoping that you enjoyed spending this time with me. I really love speaking to Jim. Again, if you have any sightings, information, stories, photographs, doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, you can contact him at his website, which I'll include here on the credits. And as you can tell, this gentleman is really involved in this, and he takes it very seriously. And you never know, you might find some comparison where somebody else has already talked to him about something similar, and you can get that feedback. But anyway, I'm hoping that you're going to come back, and next week I'm going to have another show, which is going to be super interesting. I believe um, I'm going to be able to interview a, a show that got sidelined. I called it I was a victim of paranormal sabotage, which was with Rita Strugala. She's an exorcist out of Alabama, also, who my interview with her got wiped out, and I kind of did like patch together a show based out of what happened with her and some of her exorcism. But she's going to be kind enough to come back and actually do a real interview with me, and she showed me I don't think I'm going to be able to televise it. She sent me some video clips of a very recent exorcism that she was involved with, which was terrifying. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making it over the top. And when I say terrifying, I'm not terrifying like in the Hollywood, no, 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 no. I'm saying truly, truly terrifying. I even asked her, I said, if I were you, I would have left. I would have left. Okay. It was incredible what I saw. She showed me, she allowed me to see the videotapes, the clips of what happened during the entire exorcism. And what I saw was more disturbing, I think, than anything you could ever see if you went to the movies. Okay? Because when you see these over the top stuff in the theaters or in the films with people levitating and spewing, it's like after a while this is just made up. It's Hollywood effects. It's FX. But when you're seeing something that's really taking place for another human being, you don't have that escape route, you know. So that was very disturbing. But anyway, getting back to the moment, I believe she's going to be my next guest, and maybe we can discuss, within the limits of protecting the confidentiality of her clients about her cases, about her own personal experience. Some of the things she told me from that first time of things that have happened to her personally as a result of her being involved in this work were like, oh, okay. I know you're going to definitely enjoy that interview. So again, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. Let me know if you have any areas that you would like me to discuss or bring either authors, experts. I also have a gentleman that I believe I'm going to be able to bring in out of Wisconsin. Yes, Wisconsin. He does paranormal work, but he's also been involved with cryptids like Dogman and Goatman out of that area. And I'm going to bring him in because I think that's so interesting. Again, I hope you like it. And I hope you're going to be here next week when I bring somebody else on. In the meantime, I'm also going to produce another show that I did myself where I went out to the crash site that we've had here in the Everglades, because we've had 3. And I live very close to the Everglades, which is really interesting because I have gotten reports of paranormal events. Plus, also, we had the Eastern Flight 401, which was very, very famous for all the hauntings that occurred after that plane went down, and some of the parts were salvaged and put in other planes. So I think you're really going to like that show. Plus, you're going to see me trek out there and fight off mosquitoes. That was scary. That was very scary. Oh, okay, so again, guys, take care and have a great weekend.